Sanchez. He's at least the 5th person to die in ICE custody in the country in 2026. It's only January 17th. This is a pace that's already exceeding the 32 deaths that were recorded during a record-breaking 2025, so we're not off to a good start. ICE officials reported on Friday night that the medical staff discovered Sanchez at around 2:05 on Wednesday in the morning. They say he was hanging by the neck and unresponsive in his sleeping quarters. Now, although staff tried to save his life, performing those life-saving measures, they also took him to a local hospital. He was pronounced dead just an hour later. The Mexican consulate is weighing in. They requested just Thursday that the circumstances of his death be, quote unquote, clarified. They say that the agency provided details on how he was found, but ICE has not yet responded to any inquiries regarding whether the death is being investigated as a suicide or a homicide. Remember, I told you that he was found in that room, that cell, hanging. Sanchez had been in federal custody for only 6 days prior to this death. His path to the Lovejoy facility here in Georgia began on January 7th, so just a couple of days prior, when Richmond County deputies arrested him for a traffic violation. Now, according to ICE, Sanchez reported no signs of any distress during his initial intake process. The agency says in a statement that it was committed to ensuring all individuals in custody reside in a safe, secure, and humane environment where they will provide comprehensive medical care. So again, this has sparked concern among a large group of people, especially here in Georgia, just trying to figure out, why did this happen? How did this happen? Was it a suicide? Was it a homicide? I know a lot of you guys have been keeping up with us on YouTube and on TikTok. By the way, this is an interactive news conversation. So if you have questions, if you see one of our reporters out on a story and you want to ask them something, you have a comment on their story, or maybe there's a headline out there that I'm not covering and you would like me to take a deeper dive into it, I can do that in this kind of environment that we have created for you guys. So welcome to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. I'm going to be your host for the next couple of hours. In addition to our biggest headlines of the day, we also know that weather is top of mind for everyone. We have been asking for about a week and a half, is it going to snow here in Georgia and how soon? I want to get out to our meteorologist, Alex Forbes, who may have some better answers than I can give you. Alex, what are you seeing? So
I think somewhere it is going to snow in Georgia. I don't think that's going to be necessarily Metro Atlanta. There's a lot to unpack here. Really complicated forecast. This is the type of setup that whenever we get it, it just creates headaches for meteorologists galore. I want to point out that the cold front that we had this morning, that is not the winter weather threat, right? We're still looking at some showers now from Warren County back down into the Macon area. Those are sliding down to the south and to the east. But in behind it comes cooler air, and as we track this now, that cooler air is already going to be in place. The question is, how far north does some moisture come from the Gulf of Mexico? Right now over downtown, kind of foggy, overcast, 47 is where we stand. Expect this to continue through the late morning hours and into the early afternoon in terms of that cloud cover hanging around. I think once we get to the mid-afternoon, it'll lift a bit, but it will still be around Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. The result is temperatures not changing all that much, only getting up to about 53 today. Now, we have a winter weather advisory in effect for areas south and southeast of Metro Atlanta right now. This includes Jasper, Putnam, Jones, Baldwin, Monroe, and Upson counties. Also goes down to Talbot, Taylor, Crawford, Bibb, Peach, Houston, Twiggs, Wilkinson counties, over towards Hancock and Washington counties also included in this. Kicks in at 3 a.m. and goes until noon on Sunday. And this is for snow accumulations up to an inch. This is the National Weather Service putting this out, and I largely agree with it. Let me take you over to my snow forecast. I want to point out that this is hand-drawn. This is not a model run. This is not something that I've just pulled out of thin air. I poured over the data when I got to work this morning, and this is the best stab that we can do as of now, Saturday morning. So first, want to point out this yellow line right here. This would be the cutoff line. This remains unclear. And the problem is, for me, if this shifts 20 miles north, in the grand scheme of things, with the size of this weather system, that's not all that much. In totality, that might be like a 5% shift. But that is millions of people impacted by that shift if that were to happen. Likewise, this could shift down to the south. We could cut out Butts County, we could cut out Monroe County, and all of this is down south of Macon. That is as much of a possibility as what you see here. I'd say this forecast is a medium confidence forecast now. Yesterday's was a low confidence. This is a medium confidence. So this light blue area from Oglethorpe County through Greene, Morgan, Jasper, Putnam over towards Newton County, that's where we're looking for the possibility of accumulating snow, and if we see something there, it would be less than an inch. Slide this down to the south now, get into Upson County, Monroe, Pike, Lamar, Meriwether counties. That is where we are going to have the possibility for snow, and if we see accumulations, it would be less than an inch. Notice you do get some higher amounts once you get down into Jones and Bibb counties. That would be a high-end event down there. Not necessarily guaranteeing it, right? Less than 2 inches means you could still just get a dusting. Just want to point that out as we find our way through the morning hours tomorrow. So I've got that same blue area I just showed you overlaid on top of this yellow area. The National Weather Service put out a map similar to this yesterday, and I really like it because I think it tells the story. Just because you are not in the blue shaded area does not mean that you won't see snow. If you are anywhere in this yellow area, Gainesville, Atlanta, all of the suburbs, right? Marietta, Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, Roswell, Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Beaufort, Lawrence, like we go all the way around. I am not forecasting snow in those locations as of now. However, there is a world where it still snows there if that moisture is able to just nudge its way further north through the morning hours tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at some of the models here. This is the European model. I think this is the most in line with my forecast. You see some light snowfall totals south and east of the city through the early afternoon tomorrow, with everywhere in at least our area below a half inch for really that's going to be into the 2-3 o'clock hour. But this model has shifted north and west since we last saw it last night, so that's important to note. Now, the GFS model has also shifted north and west, and I'm going to warn you, in fact, I'm going to stand in front of it first. It has driven up the numbers, but I have not put this into the forecast because the GFS has been the one that's been all over the place. So a couple of things to point out here. You see an inch of snow down to the south and to the east. That would be possible, but if that happens, we would also pick up maybe some flakes here in the city. So we'll watch the trends on that and see if that sticks. Now this model, this is the North American model. I think this one's out on its own island and won't happen, but it's not impossible, right? Welcome to my headache over the last couple of days. Could we potentially see a more significant snowfall down to the south? Yeah, that's in the cards, but I don't think it's realistic. I think it's unrealistic, as I say over there. So it's just a headache. One thing that's not a headache, though, Judea, it's going to be cold tonight. It's going to be cold tomorrow. Wind chills down into the teens again for Sunday morning. I was trying to think back. I really can't remember a winter that it has been on repeat in terms of wind chills in the teens here in the metro area, but we're going to do it again tomorrow morning, and then for the afternoon, at its warmest, it's only going to feel like 30, even though the air temperature will get up to 40. Now, here's something else important to note. Wherever we do see winter weather, if we do see winter weather, we will see a little bit of melting on Sunday, not a ton, but a little bit, and whatever does not melt will have the opportunity to refreeze there Monday morning with a low temperature of 26. Now, Monday, of course, is MLK Day. Schools are out across the metro area, so we're not looking for school closures and things like that. Certainly not by Tuesday either, but it's going to be an interesting 24 to 36 hours. Stick with us. We'll be covering it here on Fox Local. We were talking earlier, Judea. I truly don't know what we're going to be doing tomorrow morning, just because the wide range of possibilities is there with the forecast.
Alex, I can tell you what we're going to be doing. We're going to keep our eyes open. Yeah. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow.
I'm going to try to, at least. We'll see how much
You never know. You never know. And again, thank you for pointing out, too, that this was me when you were telling me what was going to happen over the next couple of days. I was like, oh my gosh, are the kids going to be wondering whether or not they have school? And you're like, they're not going to school anyway. It's MLK Day, Judea. So right. Yes, we all have to keep that in mind. Thank you so much for our forecast. We're going to check back in with you because a lot of people are wondering all this stuff. Quick shout out, by the way, to Peter, to Papa Donna, Jimmy Veach, to Sean. Good morning to all of you. There are a couple of more, Graziel, John Boy, everybody who's decided decided to join us on YouTube and on TikTok, thank you so much for streaming with us. Got a lot more news coming for you. Here are a couple of things that are happening right now in Atlanta, starting with the Ferris wheel. I got this picture from our photojournalist Eli Jordan on his way to his story today. You guys, they are taking apart the Ferris wheel as we speak, and this shouldn't be news in case you have been watching Fox 5 Atlanta for the last couple of days. Skyview Atlanta is closed. They're going to be closed for repairs after being struck by lightning. So the plan is that the middle piece, the middle axle, will be removed and it will have to be repaired after some suspected lightning struck that part of the Ferris wheel. But don't worry, it should be open just in time for Valentine's Day. So in case you have some romantic plans, you want to take your loved one up in the air, it should be reopened by February 12th. So that's what's happening in downtown Atlanta. Now, have you guys seen this video? I'll show you it in a second, but we know that a man was arrested after a video went viral of him shouting racial slurs seemingly at a security guard. Again, went viral. I saw this video on my social media timeline and I was looking at the video and then I was like, wait a minute, I know this area. That's Georgia. So yes, that man was from here. Here's the information that we have for you about it. This all taking place in Gwinnett County. I believe we have a picture of his mugshot there. 65-year-old, hold on, let me make sure I've got his name correct. Robert Burke was arrested. He was seen on this video that has made its rounds on pretty much all of the blogs, all of the social media pages pertaining to the Atlanta area after some reported disturbances at a Social Security office in Norcross and a hotel in Duluth. So they say on January 14th, this man was allegedly on the property making threats, verbally insulting other people who were inside the Social Security office. Police said that multiple children, who, by the way, could be seen in the video, were present during this incident. Employees identified the man in the video as 65-year-old Robert Burke. They told officers that he had been causing disturbances at the location in the past. Burke was not at the scene when the officers arrived, but a warrant was issued charging him with disorderly conduct. So in the video, obviously the guard can attest to this. He says the man became irate. Cell phone video shows him screaming at him. At one point in time, he drops the F-bomb. Another point in time, he calls him the N-word. I think he says it multiple times. And then he asks the security guard, "What are you going to do? It's free speech." Well, according to the Gwinnett County Police Department, that's not protected. Let's listen in so we get a better idea of what is protected under the First Amendment.
Are exceptions to the First Amendment. Those include fighting words. So basically, you can't make statements face-to-face to someone that may entice violence in that moment. There were other individuals on the scene that potentially could have been victims of the crime of simple assault, but they chose not to prosecute.
We tried to reach out to Robert Burke for some insight if he wanted to talk on his own behalf, because obviously this video is everywhere. It shows his face, but everyone should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So we did reach out to him asking if he wanted to say anything. Our attempts to reach him via email have been unsuccessful, though, so we haven't heard back. Here's another story. We learned about 2 women who have been charged with performing illegal surgeries on cats. You're taking a look at them there. It's going to be 37-year-old Sarah Benefield and 27-year-old Cameron Garrod. So according to the arrest report, these 2 women are connected to a mobile vet clinic. One is a current employee, the other is a previous one. But although they have a little bit of vet experience, investigators say that they're not licensed to do surgeries, and they're accused of doing some in a home belonging to one of the women. Now, according to the arrest report, the 2 women are accused of neutering 2 male cats at a Noonan clinic where the report says Benefield, a Noonan home where the report says Benefield lives. The report also says that these procedures were allegedly done in a makeshift surgical setting, and also allegedly may have been done without giving the cats any anesthesia. Now, as a result, those cats, who by the way, their names are Kelvin and Klein, Oh, that's cute. Calvin and Klein required veterinary care by licensed professionals after these alleged surgeries. The report also says that they received vaccinations that were signed for by the vet in charge of the mobile clinic. The report says that the people who were in charge of that clinic denied any acknowledgement of the shots or the illegal surgeries. So Calvin and Klein, by the way, you guys, those cats are doing okay. Luckily, they suffered no permanent injuries, but Benefield and Garrod on your screen have turned themselves into Coweta County authorities this week. All right, there are a lot more local headlines that we have to get into, so don't go anywhere. Trust me, we have a lot more to uncover and give you guys some more details on. But in the meantime, we were just talking about Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That is on Monday, and of course, it's also known as, while some people say it's their day off, it's a day on for more. There's going to be some services happening all across the country, especially here in Georgia. I'll get into all of that and more when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. This Monday marks the holiday for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Sorry, you guys, I'm a little tongue-tied. Give me a second to pull it together. Now, here in Atlanta, it's an extra special day because, of course, MLK was from the city of Atlanta. His historic church, Ebenezer Baptist Church, is based here. And so while we know that a lot of people will be performing service projects all across the country, especially here in Georgia, we here at Fox 5 Atlanta will have a special treat for you if you'd like to watch it. There's the commemorative service that happens Monday morning, and there's a chance for you to stream it live if you would like to. Once again, we are the partner with the King Center to broadcast and live stream the event. So if you'd like to watch, just as in years past, you can download the Fox Local app for your smart TV or your phone. You can stream it live on fox5atlanta.com. You can join us here just like you are right now on TikTok or on YouTube. And you can also join our community on Facebook. Then you can leave comments in real time. A lot of people in years past, I've been doing this for quite some time, will tell us how MLK makes them feel. They'll drop one of his quotes quotes in the chat, or they'll comment on some of the performers who are going to be there. There are a lot of high stakes stars, celebrities who will be in the building, and so I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful performance for anybody who wants to check it out. The service takes place at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is MLK's official church. The keynote speaker is Reverend A.R. Bernard Sr., who's the founder and chairperson of the Christian Cultural Center Global, and the service starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this Monday. So again, you don't want to miss out. So that's what's happening on Monday, and that's how you can watch that service. But let's take a step back. One of the things that's been happening this weekend as people gear up for MLK Day, a couple of museums have been open, and one in particular, the Children's Museum of Atlanta, has an incredible exhibit for your kids. I want to get right out to our Eli Jordan, who is live there now. Eli, tell me about what they're showing in this exhibit and who it's targeted toward.
Hey, good morning, Judea. I'm at the Children's Museum of Atlanta, and it is the Tuskegee Airmen exhibit. Tuskegee Airmen actually was formed 85 years ago yesterday, and they got a heck of a good record. They flew 179 missions and only lost bombers on 7 of those missions. So they had 172 missions without losing a single aircraft. And it's a really cool exhibit here for kids. There's a lot of interactive things. Even some adults are getting into it. And, you know, they got a lot of history here. They got some physics that you can make some airplanes and stuff. I like these little kiosks here. You got a lot of information. You can see a lot of history and stuff. And
Okay, Eli, unfortunately your shot froze. Hopefully we'll be able to get back out with you in a little bit, but just to give you some insight on what this exhibit is all about, I do have some notes here. So it's called Aim High, Soaring with the Tuskegee Airmen. And if you've never heard of the Tuskegee Airmen before, they were the first African-American military pilots and support personnel in the U.S. Armed Forces, so a pretty big deal. So this exhibit shows a little bit more about who they were, some of the missions that they were able to go on, and keep in mind that this was all during a time where racism was very much so well and alive. So while they were risking their lives to keep us safe here in the U.S., doing everything they could on the front lines, sometimes these men would come back home and not receive the warm welcome that every veteran is worth, should be awarded. And so having an exhibit like this is pretty cool, especially in our area, for children to learn more about their legacy, to learn more about the U.S. military in general, and the, I dare I say, the sacrifice that these men and women have made in our lives. Specifically, these are African-American men that we're talking about, though. So hopefully we'll be able to get out to our Eli Jordan in just a little bit. I'm now seeing that we're having some technical difficulties too, so we'll take a step back. But earlier this week, if you didn't get to check it out, our governor, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, delivered his final State of the State address. And in it, he talked about some news that will be pretty big for your wallet, for your purse. I want to let you listen in to what he had to say when it pertained to tax breaks and incentives and a little bit of money that we might be owed when tax season rolls around.
And the reality is that too many of our citizens are still struggling to make ends meet each and every day because costs are still too high. Groceries, rent, insurance, clothes for the kids, it all adds up to more than it used to. That's why my budget proposal will include a fourth one-time $1 billion tax rebate this year that will return or save the average filer $250 and a married couple up to $500. With this rebate, my administration and this General Assembly will have returned over $7.5 billion in surplus revenue to the taxpayers of our state over the last 4 years. We also know that one-time relief is a short-term solution that recognizes the state has collected more of your tax dollars than it needs to fund our priorities and save for whatever the future may bring. We must continue doing everything in our power to allow the hard-working men of our state to keep more of their hard-earned money in their pocket in the years to come. Because as I've said before, that's your money, not the government's. That's why my administration will also be proposing a further 20 basis point reduction in our state's personal and corporate income tax rate, bringing it down to just 4.99%. This will fulfill a promise to the people of the state that I made during my reelection campaign to lower our state income tax rate to under 5%. And with the General Assembly's passage and my signature, it will come a full 3 years ahead of schedule. This tax cut doesn't promise to pay for itself years down the road or create future budget holes with today's one-time money. Our plan fulfills my promise to the voters of this state in a responsible way. And most importantly, this plan puts all the hardworking people of our state first. The reason that we've been able to do this and through it 3 years ahead of schedule is because of our fiscal discipline. It's also worth noting a few other important accomplishments that the last few years may not have made headlines or pleased some of those that constantly advocate for bigger government. Even with the rebate and tax cuts that my office will propose this legislative session, our state's rainy day fund and strategic reserves will still stand at over $10 billion. These reserves are 4 times higher than any administration will leave behind in our history, and enough to run state government for 3 full months. But I also want to provide a word of caution for the future. It's not a question if hard times will hit our state again. It is simply a question of when. When Governors Perdue and Deal were fighting alongside members of the General Assembly to pull our state through the Great Recession, billions more in state reserves would have been a critical lifeline as Georgia families, our state, and our country were experiencing incredible economic hardship. But as good leaders do, both governors made tough choices in tough times to make sure our state weathered the storm. And they both, along with the members of this legislature who served with them, deserve our thanks and gratitude for their leadership. Fast forward to today, and Georgia stands in a historic position to confidently face whatever the future may bring. Showing fiscal restraint and continuing to build on these reserves instead of spending it all in the future may not be popular or easy. But the Georgia of today that has been built over the last 25 years does not stand on sticks made of easy or politically convenient. The Georgia of today stands on a firm foundation, a foundation built on the character of our people, the resolve of leaders both past and present, and by the grace of our Creator. So when the storms of tomorrow come, it is my hope that we will share in a commitment to keeping the state we all love on that firm foundation. Our state reserves are just one area that we have made historic strides in to set Georgia up for future success and prosperity. From the 2024 budget through the proposed amended 26 budget, $4.1 billion in capital projects have been funded through cash instead of debt.
So as you heard there, that was just part of the longer speech that Governor Brian Kemp gave. This was his final State of the State address as governor. Of course, now we will have an election to figure out who will run the state of Georgia next. But in addition to that tax rebate that he proposed, he also suggested something about the Dream Scholarship and some more money that could come to your kids. We'll talk more about that in a second. But coming up next, got a Q&A coming up with our meteorologist, Alex Forbes. You guys have been wondering whether or not it is going to snow, and so I have some myth-busting questions for him right after this. Hey guys, I'm Judea Murray. Bringing back up Alex Forbes, our meteorologist. Welcome to the digital desk for the morning. Alex, there are a lot of questions, even some floating around in our chat as it pertains to the snow. Yes.
I'm unaware.
So we're going to pick your brain. Okay.
All right.
So first and foremost, the general one. We've been asking you all morning long. Is it going to snow?
Where?
In Atlanta.
Okay. Probably not.
Okay.
Notice I didn't say no. Okay.
Probably not. What are the
This
chances?
is, I would say we have about a 10% chance of seeing snow in Atlanta as of right now, tomorrow morning for Sunday. The problem with this type of system is that it is so big, right? Like we are a little dot on the map compared to the size of the system, and we are right on the edge. And any slight motion, say the system is moving at 23 degrees versus 23.5 degrees, that has a 40-mile impact on the snow swath. And imagine 40 miles from Roswell to Locust Grove, right? That's millions of people impacted by that. So we are literally trying to get that line nailed down as well as we can. And it's a very hard thing to do. And the way I see it now is Atlanta being on the north side of that line. So cold and windy tomorrow morning, but the snow south of the city as of right now.
Okay, and it's interesting to me that you keep saying the South, because we normally see areas like Blairsville, Blue Ridge seeing snow, the mountains seeing snow. So why is it the south part of our state, the southern part, and not the north?
So the thing in flux here is where the moisture is, not where the cold air is. So typically whenever we're thinking about cold air, we think of it coming as north to south, because that's how it happens. Well, that's already going to be here. The north to south thing is happening tonight, and we're all going to be cold tomorrow morning. So cold air in place. Now what you're going to get is moisture moving into the cold air. So that's what makes this event a more south to north type of look to it, because the moisture, right, you're closer to the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of everything, down on the south side of the area, meaning you're going to see the moisture first. And then it's a question of how far north can it get.
Okay, now let's talk about the cold, because a lot of us have been fighting to put the heat on. Of course, a lot of us had to, especially last night. What's the range of the lows that we're going to look overnight?
So everybody's going to be below freezing, which is another aspect to this forecast, right? Because that means a precipitation type that is purely snow. We're not really looking at an ice component to this. If it snows, say in Covington at 28 degrees, you're not going to get a layer of freezing rain anywhere in there, or sleet or something like that. But that's just the temperatures. The wind chills tomorrow morning, kind of like yesterday, it is going to be bitterly cold during the morning hours. Wind chills down into the teens, 20s down on the south side. And at its warmest tomorrow afternoon for a place like Atlanta, Johns Creek, Marietta, 40 degrees or so should be our high temperature, but it's only going to feel like 30. So it's going to feel like it's below freezing for the entirety of the day.
Oh my gosh. You got me with the wind chill, but the temperature is going to feel below freezing.
Well, and I was telling
everyone.
Caitlin earlier during Good Day, I grew up here in Atlanta. I've been around for several winters now, more than several. I can't remember a winter where we kept getting this cold over and over, meaning we can see wind chills down into the teens in November, and then we saw it in December, now 2 times in January, probably another time next week. It's typically just like one big cold blast and that's it, but we've done several cold blasts this year.
That's not fun, and I know it. I've felt it in my bones. Okay, so here's just me spitting my opinion out there. I hate seeing the ski masks where you just have your eyes out. We call those shiesties. I hate seeing them, but obviously this is kind of the weather that you're probably going to want to put them on. You don't want your face exposed to the elements.
So in Georgia, this is very cold, but it's not going to be the type of weather that dictates that necessarily.
Okay.
That's more below zero, which we don't do here.
Okay. See, all right, I'm from New York, and one of the things that we talked.
Now, that's not to say you're not going to be walking around somewhere in Georgia and somebody's going to be wearing one. Like, that's a distinct
That's
possibility.
going to happen regardless.
But no, I don't think that's necessary for tomorrow.
Okay, good to know. What about gloves, though?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we kind of have an idea of what we're probably going to want to wear, what we're maybe won't be so necessary. Thank you for letting me pick your brain. I have a lot more questions coming up for you, as I'm sure our audience does too. Speaking of which, on TikTok, someone wanted me to tell you, make it snow. Then what you
Look,
do?
if I could make it do anything, it would be 75 and sunny. Make my job a lot easier.
What would you guys prefer? Are you okay with the snowy weather here in Georgia? Would you like to see more warmth here in January, or, you know, what may have you? Weigh in on TikTok and on YouTube, and we'll be able to read your comments a little later. Alex, again, thanks for letting me pick your brain.
Yep.
Now, remember, we do have more headlines coming up, so I want to dive into a couple more of those. I told you about the man that went viral, allegedly spewing racial slurs in Gwinnett County. I told you about the women who were charged with performing illegal surgeries on some cats. I didn't talk to you about this next story though, so let's get into it. A nurse from, I believe it was the Fulton County Jail, is accused of smuggling weed and American Deli. Now, if you are unfamiliar with American Deli, that's where a lot of us go for our wings. I think they also have Philly cheesesteaks. Their fries are pretty good, but they have burgers. The wings are great, but not good enough to get caught and have to go to jail. That's crazy. Well, this woman, she was a contract nurse. She's arrested for allegedly smuggling drugs, jewelry, and food into the Fulton County Jail for inmates for payment. Authorities discovered the scheme through an incriminating note and surveillance footage that showed this nurse that you see on your screen distributing the illegal items. Now, again, this former contract nurse from the Fulton County Jail, her name is Naomi Marie Anthony. She's 34 years old. She's from the city of Decatur. She was booked into the Fulton County Jail where she worked on Thursday. According to jail records, she's facing felony charge for obtaining, procuring, or giving an inmate tobacco products without authorization. They also allege that she maintained an improper relationship with one of those inmates. According to the arrest warrants, that scheme was uncovered when jail staffers found a note. That note suggested that Anthony would be bringing marijuana, cigarettes, jewelry, and food from American Deli into the facility in exchange for Cash App payments. They say that she went great lengths to bypass the security there, even hiding some items in her private areas to avoid detection during her entry into the jailhouse. However, surveillance footage reportedly captured her handing these illegal items to multiple inmates. So the Fulton County Sheriff, Pat Labatt, immediately fired Anthony from her position as a contracted nurse upon bringing the charges. And in response to the breach, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office announced that it will be updating its X-ray detection machines at the jail entrances, hoping that this doesn't happen again. Officials stated that the new technology is intended to address the issue of contraband being smuggled past checkpoints. Wild story there. Had to bring it to you all. Did you all hear as well about the teenager who's been accused in a shooting outside of a movie theater? This one happening in Marietta. Let me make sure my notes are most updated for you guys on this story. We learned that a teen has been charged with allegedly shooting outside that movie theater. Some people say at least 6 rounds were fired. This 16-year-old, who's not going to be named because they are juvenile, is facing adult felony aggravated assault charges for what happened on December 23rd outside of a movie theater in Marietta. They say that holiday moviegoers heard at least 6 rounds in the parking lot and throughout the building. They have yet to determine that 16-year-old's motive or how that 16-year-old even obtained a gun. It's a real head scratcher, but this all taking place at the NCG Theater on Powder Spring Street. So if you know anybody in Georgia, specifically the North Georgia area, more specifically the Marietta area, ask them if they've heard about this, and if they know anything that could help police, they're asked to give 911 a call. They're hoping to figure out more information, but I can tell you that 16-year-old was processed at an adult detention center. He's been booked into the Cobb County Youth Detention Center, and investigators say that they haven't yet determined how he obtained the gun that was used in the incident or why he ended up firing those shots. But according to a moviegoer, if I can quote them, they say that's pretty young, senseless. Anybody could have gotten hurt. That moviegoer says they pretty frequently bring their children to that particular movie theater. And also, we learned more about Cornelius Taylor. That name probably rings bells for you, but just in case it doesn't, this is the young man who allegedly was sleeping outside, so homeless, for lack of better words, but in a tent during a street sweep to try to crack down on the amount of homeless people sleeping in Atlanta. A city worker allegedly ran ran over Cornelius Taylor, crushing and killing him. And so there was a vigil held recently in which they think that they want to rename the street where all of this happened after Taylor. Latest information that we know about it, it's been a year since that death was first reported. We here on Fox 5 Atlanta made sure we got this story out to you guys. Again, that deadly sweep there happening in our area, actually not very far from Ebenezer Baptist Church, where just on Monday we're going to have that commemorative service for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But there's been some legislation introduced to rename Old Wheat Street in honor of Cornelius Taylor, the man who was killed during this encampment sweep. We know that advocates have been demanding permanent housing for the homeless community here in Atlanta, and also for an end to heavy machinery that's been being used in encampment sweeps. They're saying that this never should have happened. How do you roll over somebody who was merely sleeping in a tent? How do you not check whether there was a person in the tent before you go ahead and roll over it? That's what some of the advocates are saying. Now, the Justice for Cornelius Taylor Coalition, along with some partners such as AFSC Atlanta, are launching Week of Action, Service, and Memorial. It all started on Friday. This event marks the anniversary of January 16th, 2025, in which we know that Cornelius Taylor was killed during an encampment sweep. They also aim to provide aid to the unhoused while demanding changes to city eviction policies. So we'll let you know if Old Wheat Street does eventually turn into Cornelius Taylor Street officially, but that's what we know so far from the vigil, from the community event that was held. I can also tell you that Alan Hall, the man you're seeing there on your screen, he was a friend of Cornelius Taylor. He had some words to share as well. Let's listen in.
Just so impactful, you know, and I was just felt so deeply traumatized by that experience until I just immediately just stopped, you know, because I could see myself up under that truck, you know, and as a result of that, man, you know, it's just been, man, going forward since then. His life has given my life a purpose.
By him. All right, so again, that candlelight vigil was held. They're hoping that they can rename Old Wheat Street, where this horrible incident happened, to Cornelius Taylor Street. And again, if we find out that that has happened officially, we'll let you all know. So that's what's happening in our neck of the woods. Some of the biggest headlines in our area, at least the trending ones. We have even more coming up for you soon, but I do want to let you know we're going to try one more time after a quick step back to try reach out to our photojournalist Eli Jordan, who once again is at the scene of the Children's Museum of Atlanta. They have a pretty exciting exhibit that's paying homage to our history when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. Now, new this weekend for Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend, the Children's Museum of Atlanta has put out a pretty exciting exhibit paying homage to the Tuskegee Airmen. I want to get right out to our Eli Jordan. I want to give him another chance. Eli, what are you seeing there at this exhibit? What do they have to show the kids?
Hey, good morning. I hope that my signal stays and no more snafus going on. But yes, this is a really cool exhibit. I previewed it yesterday, but now it's open for the kiddos. And the doors open at 9:30, and they're open until 4:30 today. And they'll be open all weekend and on the holiday too. So if you want to come out here on Monday and bring your kid, it'll be cool. But the Tuskegee Airmen were a really good group of aviators, the first black aviators in the American military. And they had a really good record. They did not lose very many bombers at all. And but here to talk about, they got a lot of interactive stuff, and here to talk about it is the Director of Exhibits and Education, Karen Kelly. Hey, Karen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. I'm so excited to see the kids in the exhibit, and now that we've opened it, and enjoying all the wonderful, fun things we have to do there.
So tell me, why is it important to have the Tuskegee Airmen exhibit here?
It's important for a lot of reasons. One of which is that this is a very regional story for Atlanta. Tuskegee Airmen trained in Tuskegee, Alabama, and many of them went on to become pilots for Delta in Atlanta. And a fun story, there's another part of this exhibit that shares another story where one of the Tuskegee Airmen managed to shoot down an enemy airplane, and when they landed, his crew gave him a Coca-Cola.
I think we got that photo right here, too.
Yeah.
That was Charles Hall. He shot down, he was the first Tuskegee Airman to shoot down an enemy bomber, and he was rewarded a Coca-Cola from here in Georgia, right?
Right, from here in Georgia, exactly.
And then also, too, though, I mean, there was, in World War I, we had a Georgian go over to France to fly for them because they weren't allowed to fly here.
Exactly. So, yeah, his name was Eugene Bullard, and he flew for the French, and then came back to the United States after the war. But African black troops did fight in World War I, as a matter of fact.
But in World War II, I think 85 years ago, yesterday.
Exactly.
Tell me some about some of these little activity areas we have for the children. We got the flight simulator.
We have the wonderful flight simulator. In fact, I believe we have two pilots helping us take off right now.
Awesome.
You take a look. Oh my goodness, we've got the best pilots ever helping us fly the airplane. Oh, look at that. Yeah. And it looks like the passengers are feeling nice and safe in this plane as they're flying. Over here, we've got some of the children building their own airports and designing them. Maybe Hartsfield could get some tips from the kids on how to design an airport.
All right, yeah. You can learn how to get through there a little bit more efficiently.
And here we've got a rocket launcher where children are building rockets, and they're going to try and aim them over there. In fact, somebody just set their rocket flying over, and look, their flight crew is helping them pick it up.
I got you. And I like this little mirror over here because it's kind of like interactive.
This mirror is a lot of fun. Maybe somebody can stand on it with you, or you can stand on it.
Act like I'm a pilot here. Boom.
So look, it is just like being a pilot. Do you want to try on one of our you could wear one of the...
I'd like to see if one of these kiddos want to try on their heads, because you can get your picture made in front of these nice big portraits, Judea. They got some historic portraits here that you can get your picture made of. And the Tuskegee Airmen were more than just the pilots. I mean, they were the maintenance crews. They took care of things, and it was like a big, huge battalion of people, not just a group of pilots. I mean, it took a whole team of people to handle this. And the training happened. Normally, training happened at several different bases, but for the Tuskegee Airmen, it all happened at Tuskegee, right?
Yes, exactly. All happened in Tuskegee, Alabama, on the campus there, and then the crew. So you were talking a whole city of support crew as well. I love this photo because it shows the mechanics getting into the plane and fixing it and making sure it flies right.
So tell me, if people want more information, what's your website address?
childrensmuseumatlanta.org. Just go there and you can find a lot about the exhibit and how to get to the museum. And you too can become a pilot as you come visit this exhibit.
And what are your hours this weekend? And
we are open from 9:30 to 4:30 today and tomorrow, and we are open all day on Monday as well. Check the website for the hours.
And
that'll be great.
Mostly, what do you hope people will come away? I know there's a lot of activities and stuff here, but there's a lot of history on these kiosks and whatnot, and recognizing Black history and aviation. But what do you want people to come away with when they see this?
I want them to come away with the messages that are on that sign over there. Aim high, you can win, and you just have to keep trying. If you make a mistake, it's okay. We learn from our mistakes, we move on, and we keep pushing ahead. So I think that's the key message. If you see something you really want to do and really want to accomplish, you can do that. And not always alone. A whole group of people work to have get the Tuskegee Airmen in the air. So I think that is also important. But we want all the children who come to this museum to believe in themselves and their families.
And that's basically, I mean, what the airmen did. I mean, they were up against so much resistance, saying, "You guys can't fly. We don't trust you."
Yeah.
You know, and then they really showed the world what they were really made of, right?
They really did. They really showed the world what they were made of and what a success they were.
And it's a great story. Judea, this is a really cool exhibit. I mean, it's it's a simple exhibit. It's very to the point. It it gives great history. And if you bring your nephew out here, he'd probably dig it. And there's the red tails right there of the P-51. This is a good exhibit, good educational, and it also gives credit where credit is due. The Tuskegee Airmen, one of the most bad squadrons in the World War II, only lost bombers on 7 of their 179 missions, and that's one heck of a record. And they were eventually, at first, no one wanted to fly with them, but then all of a sudden they saw how good and disciplined they were. All the bombers wanted to fly with them. They wanted their protection. Judea, back to you.
Eli, honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself, and I love the quote that they have right there when you first come in, that aim high, expect to win. That is something that we should all be taking with us, especially as, this is January, the beginning of the year. A lot of people have these resolutions that they're trying to set up for themselves to make themselves be better. Well, you guys aim high and expect to win. Expect that you are going to do exactly what you said you were going to set out to do here in 2026. Eli, thank you so much for giving us this look here and this word for this morning. All right, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some financial news. These are things that are going to affect your wallet, your pocket, your purse, all coming up. So let's start with tax season. It is right around the corner. Well, the IRS has put out a get ready website that's supposed to help you prepare for tax season. So here's what we know on this. It features a number of resources for taxpayers, including information on how some changes like buying a home or losing a job can impact the way you file your taxes. And that, of course, can impact whether or not you get a refund or how much it will be. The IRS recommends that everyone take a look at that site since there are several changes because of the president's big, beautiful bill. Later on in this stream, we're going to dive a little deeper into what some of those changes are. But I also want to let you know the new No Real ID fee starts February 1st. So if you have any plans to travel, maybe just in time for February, for Valentine's Day, or maybe you've got some travel this spring with spring break coming up, you need to get your Real ID before it's too late, because coming up starting February 1st, if you get to the airport and you don't have it, the TSA will begin charging travelers a $45 fee. And who's trying to pay that? I'm not. This is all, of course, if you don't have that right form of ID. So now where does the money go? That $45, according to TSA, this will be anytime there is a type of process where there's an administrative fee involved. It has to pay for it somehow. TSA says that that fee will help cover most of the costs of verifying someone's identity. So that's that on that. I want to talk to you a little bit about some news for your kids too. Here's stuff that will help you coming up. YouTube is giving parents some more control over what your kids are viewing, which if you have an iPad kid, I've got iPad nieces and nephews, this is really important. The popular streaming site announced that parents can now set time limits for viewing short form videos. So essentially they don't want you doom scrolling. Limits range from 0 minutes to 2 hours. This is new for the kids, but I actually have one set on my YouTube because I tend to binge watch videos late at night, which is not good for me while I'm trying to go to sleep. And so I've set a timer after 2 hours. YouTube will let me know, hey, maybe it's time you take a break. And honestly, you guys, it's been great. I don't cheat on it. Once it tells me that, I move on, or I put my phone down and I go to sleep, which is really important because I get up early in the morning. Parents will also be able to set custom bedtime and take a break reminders. And if you let your kids watch from your phone, YouTube says it'll make it easier to switch between teen and adult accounts. Also, there's been a school district change to the kindergarten age requirement. This is all happening in Gwinnett County. Starting with fall 2026, the district will require all 6-year-olds to begin first grade. And so when I heard the story, I was thinking about it myself. I think in first grade, I was 6 turning 7. So I was wondering, well, what exactly is changing here? Well, this changes the previous policy, which allowed parents to use their own discretion on when their child would be developmentally ready to start kindergarten. So some parents maybe want to hold their children back a little while longer, maybe due to some emotional, some physical, some behavioral issues. This policy is known as redshirting, and it allowed some 6-year-olds to attend kindergarten instead of first grade. Now, one Gwinnett County parent told us that this change could negatively impact her daughter. Some people, like I said, those who would prefer to keep their child behind a little bit just to give them a little more time to catch up with the other kids who eventually will be in the same grade as them. They say that they're not ready to just push their child ahead, push them through. Some of them feel like they'd need a little more emotional support and a little more time to get there. So it's going to be interesting in seeing how parents react. Obviously, some people might not get this news in time, and then when it comes around getting ready for the school year, will be surprised. So just wanted to put this out there. If you know a parent here in Georgia, specifically in Gwinnett County, you're definitely going to want to share this with them. All right, you guys, coming up next, we have to get back to talking to you guys about the weather. We know that snow impact and this cold, this bitter cold, is top of mind for everybody. We'll have more on all of that when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. A lot of big news to get to you in this hour. Welcome to the 10 a.m. hour of our show. Starting with this Mexican national who died in an ICE facility that happens to be here in Georgia. So it was really Georgia ICE custody. You're taking a look at him there on your screen. Here's what we learned. His name is Heber Sanchez. He's born in Mexico. He's only 34 years old. He was a husband and a father, and he died in ICE custody just earlier this week. So we have been trying to get some more information on this for you all, because I know between Minneapolis, between Portland, Oregon. A lot of you are keeping your eyes on anything ice related, which is understandable. Sanchez had been in federal custody for just 6 days when he was found dead in his cell. So medical staff discovered him at around 2:05 a.m. on Wednesday. They say he was hanging by his neck and unresponsive in his sleeping quarters. And although the staff says that they tried to revive him and they also took him to a local hospital, he was still pronounced dead just an hour later. Now on Thursday, the Mexican consulate weighed in. They had some questions and they requested that the circumstances of his death be clarified. While the agency provided details on how he was found, ICE has not yet responded to inquiries regarding whether the death is being investigated as a suicide or a homicide. So according to ICE, Sanchez reportedly showed no signs of distress during his initial intake process. They said there was no reason for them to look further into him or to put him in a different area, make sure he was by himself or being watched. They say they didn't have any indication that he was going to need that kind of care. The agency maintained in a statement that it is, quote unquote, committed to ensuring all individuals in custody reside in safe, secure, and humane environments where they provide comprehensive medical care. We know that the death of Sanchez has sparked outrage among local advocates here in Georgia. One by the name of Christopher Williams, he's the executive director of SIR Legal Collaborative, said that he's very skeptical regarding the agency's account of what happened. If I can quote him real quick, he said, "We are heartbroken, we are shaken, and honestly disgusted. Quite frankly, ICE can't be trusted. We would need to do a lot of investigation into the exact circumstances, and even then, I would question." Now, Williams, whose organization advocates for immigrants, characterized the death as a part of a broader systemic issue within the detention system. Again, we'll continue talking about this with you guys. I do also want to let you know there's a GoFundMe page in case anybody would like to help out. Sanchez was a husband. He was also a father of 2 children. All the funds that are gathered in that GoFundMe account are supposed to be used to cover funeral and repatriation costs, as well as provide financial support to his family, those kids. All right. With that being said, I also want to talk to you guys about weather. That is one of our big stories too. Taking a look outside. This is the beautiful city of Atlanta, but you do see some clouds in the sky. It was a cold, rainy start to this morning. I want to check in with our meteorologist, Alex Forbes, and see just what we can expect for the rest of the day ahead, including snow, question mark?
The question mark, the story of my life the past couple of days. Well, Judea, if you thought this morning was cold, just wait for tomorrow.
Ooh.
Big time change on the way. So a change from this morning to now is that we're now able to see the skyline. The clouds beginning to lift, not necessarily clear out, still an overcast sky here over downtown, but the rain has come to an end and now the front is beginning to push through. 49 is where we stand right now in Atlanta. We're not going to go much warmer than that here for the afternoon hours, looking for a high temperature of 53. All right, elephant in the room. Winter weather advisory south and southeast of Atlanta kicks in at 3 a.m. and goes until noon. This includes over towards Hancock County, Putnam, Jasper, Baldwin, Jones, Bibb, Monroe, Crawford, Upson, Talbot counties. This is for snow totals from 0 to an inch. Right? So there are going to be some spots in this purple shaded area that potentially could not see snow. I know this forecast is frustrating, and just wait, it's only going to get more frustrating the more I explain it. So basically, we have the cold air in place. We will have the cold air in place. The question is, how far north is the moisture from the Gulf going to come? And the current thinking from the National Weather Service is a line about like that. Now, let's take a look at the snow forecast here. I hand drew this. This is not a model. This is not a computer spitting this out. This is me looking over everything and sitting there with the mouse on the computer and going around and drawing out what I think is the most reasonable outcome for 3 a.m. to noon tomorrow. All right. First, want to highlight this yellow line right here. If this shifts north or south by any stretch, right, 5 miles, 10 miles, 15, 20 miles, it has a major implication for a lot of people here in the metro area, right? So there's a world where this is off by 20 miles, which in our world is not that much, in a margin of error that's like 2% from a meteorological standpoint. But then you get millions more people seeing snow. Likewise, shift that down to the south. Hey, you get my point, right? It's a very fine line in an area with a lot of people. So this light shaded blue area, I would say there's a chance of snow and it would be less than an inch. Greensboro, Madison, Monticello, Eatonton. That's where you've got your winter weather advisory down there. Also down in Monroe County, Pike, Lamar, Upson, parts of Meriwether, and Talbot counties included in that. Notice down into the Macon area, I think you could potentially pick up some more snow in those spots. We've got one model in particular that's particularly bullish right through here, and that model handled that second event last year very well, so I'm not necessarily discounting that. So I took that same light blue area and I put it on this map and then drew this yellow circle around it. The National Weather Service put out a map similar to this yesterday, and I think it tells the story. The yellow shaded area on this map, I am not forecasting snow at this point in time. However, it's not impossible to get snow in this shaded region, which includes basically the I-85 corridor and points southward. So is snow possible in Atlanta? Yes. Am I forecasting snow in Atlanta? No. So yeah, frustrating. All right. Here's the European model. This is the latest run of it. It is worth noting that the European model compared to yesterday has shifted things more north and west, so you're getting that dusting of snow here on the south side of the metro. The GFS model, I'm going to stand in front of it before you see any of the numbers. This is a most recent run of it, and this is the most snow it's brought further north so far. So I haven't upended the forecast based off of this. But look, I mean, it takes it up to Gainesville, Carrollton, Cornelia with a dusting of snow potentially. Not expected, but it's something that's out there now. Also, if this were to happen, maybe you get an inch plus down on the south side, which still in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of snow, right? And then the NAM, all right, so this one's just out on its own island, or at least it was. Look at that, it's backed off. Okay, so there we go. I can take that box off. Now, I was trying to bring 2 inches of snow in here. I quite honestly just don't see that happening, so I can stand over here now. I can just stand in front of it like that, right? So I think that is a realistic scenario there with the NAM with that latest run. All right, here we go with the graph. One thing that is for certain with this system is that it's going to turn cold and be cold. Wind chills tomorrow morning down into the teens. Once again, there we are at 9 a.m. right around 20 here in the city, teens up across the mountains. So not the coldest we've been so far this year, but still cold no matter how you slice it. So a 20% chance to see something in Atlanta tomorrow, high temperature of 40. If we do see any snow tomorrow morning, particularly south and east of the city, we will see melting, but then we will also see a refreeze there for Monday morning with an overnight low temperature of 26. Any moisture we still have on the ground for Monday, that will all evaporate, so I'm not looking for school impacts as we look towards Tuesday. But look at that, another system on the horizon there for Thursday. You were asking earlier, Judea, about North Georgia. Don't think we're really in play with this system now, but this Thursday system, while it would be primarily a rain event for Metro Atlanta, could Whitfield, Murray, Fannin, Union, Towns counties potentially get in on some wintry weather there. I don't think that answer is no. I also don't think it's yes. So some more headaches headed our way towards the end of the week.
Okay, so this is honestly like the time of year where you're just trying to figure it out, go through the flow, and obviously everybody's also looking towards the meteorologists. I saw in our chat, they are funny. We got some comedians in the chat today. Somebody was like,
well, and I'm not?
You're the leader of them.
Okay.
So one person said, oh man, this weather isn't that interesting. Well,
welcome to Georgia. I mean, look, if you were in New York,
not a bad
this would be
thing.
just like any other Thursday. This isn't any other Thursday in Georgia when you get something like this.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all relative, you guys. And then somebody else said, can you make it snow in Madison? We have also learned that he does not have the magic touch to do stuff like that, you guys.
Yeah.
Not up to Alex. He just tells you what's going to happen.
Yep. Or at least attempt to.
Thank you so much for giving us another look at our weather forecast. I'll have you back out here on the desk a little later. We'll be pummeling you with questions like we would with snowballs if it were going to snow here. So thank you so much for getting us that. All right, coming up, you guys, I do want to let you know we are previewing a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We're going to be checking in with our photojournalist Eli Jordan, who is out at the Children's Museum of Atlanta with a pretty exciting exhibit on the Tuskegee Airmen. I'm also hoping that we're going to get a chance to talk to Mayor Pro Tem from Stockbridge, Elton Alexander, about this community cleanup that he has going on. It's all in efforts ahead of Martin Luther King Jr. Day to kind of exercise that day of service where we're giving back, we're helping the community while we also pay homage to a man who did so much for our country to bring us closer together. We'll have more on all of that when we come back. Hey guys, welcome to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. Got an exciting interview coming up for you. Now, we know that people across the country are celebrating and honoring the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but while most people are honoring his life by just thinking about him and spreading, quotes, there are some people doing the hard work on the grounds, and one local leader was reminding us that this should be a day on, not a day off. I want to get right out to Stockbridge Mayor Pro Tem Ellen Alexander. This is your annual cleanup, but I understand you're out here in the community beautifying all of the time. This is regular for you, right?
This is what we do. We take pride in District Number 5 and the entire city of Stockbridge, making sure that our community shines. And, Dr. King said everybody can be great because everybody can serve. We get to serve. Certainly this is a great opportunity, and the outpouring today with almost 40 volunteers is amazing.
Now, let me ask you this. You kind of touched on it, but why is it so important to do hands-on work instead of just sitting back the way we could be all in our warm homes reflecting? Why is it so important to be out on the grounds?
There's no greater thing that you can do than service. And service to community is honorable in all instances, doing what we do. This is, in the footsteps of Dr. King. Stockbridge is the ancestral home of the King family. Daddy King was actually born here. So we wanted to represent and role model that for America to understand in the footsteps of the King family. We want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make our community shine. There's nothing greater than cleanliness is next to godliness, and litter-free streets, they matter in Stockbridge. Certainly grass cutting and all of that. We have a regular routine maintenance where we have a crew come out and cut the grass weekly. We come out and make sure that we put the extra shine on top because we don't want to aim for the middle. We want to aim for the top in Stockbridge.
Heard you loud and clear. Big question for you, though. Why is beautification so important to you and to your constituents?
It's so important to me because we want to set the example. And in Southside, we've been challenged with economic development for the city. The economic development for the city has always been challenging on the South Metro. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to change the plane and the map in the playing field to attract quality businesses to our area. When we're trying to attract quality businesses to our area, aesthetics matter. As you see on the north side of the city, they're very well maintained, and that's something we're trying to make sure that the South Side has something, like Outkast says, the South Side has something to say. That's what we want to be able to do, and to make sure that we don't have to leave our community to shop, eat, and work. On this very exit now, we have a Costco, we have a Sprouts Farmers Market, a First Watch breakfast and lunch, and all of that matters in the community where people can spend their tax dollars right in their own community. That matters out here in Stockbridge.
Okay. All right. Well, not for nothing, Mr. Alexander. Today doubles as your birthday. So you can talk to our audience. We're not just on Fox 5 Atlanta or Fox Local. We're also right now on TikTok and on YouTube. Can you talk to us about why you wanted to spend your personal day doing something like this?
Well, in actuality, God has blessed me in so many ways that I can't even tell you. He shows up and shows out in my life in every single way. He blessed me with 2 kids that are amazing, and they're thriving. They're doing extremely well. He blessed me with a great city like Stockbridge to be able to serve. And the people, that's the best part of Stockbridge and Henry County is the people. One of the commissioners like to call this the jewel of the South. It really is the jewel of the South because people need to understand, recognize Stockbridge is where it happens and making it happen. And on my birthday, there's no better way and thing that I can say than to give back to the community because you truly mature in the world when you understand the joy is truly in the giving and giving back to the community as well. We have a Martin Luther King Jr. event with my nonprofit, Community Development for Real People, on Monday, on the holiday, giving back, because that's ingrained in me. I do that in the name of my late wife, Alicia Morgan Alexander. She ingrained that in me. And she served 20 years with the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta. So I owe it all to her being out here in these streets. And she showed me the way and the impact that the Boys and Girls Club had on her life and the impact that I can have on kids and people out in the streets doing the work and role modeling it for our next generation to pass the torch.
I know she has to be looking down right now, just smiling upon you, thinking about how you have been showing up and keeping her legacy going through these efforts. Now, before I let you go, Mr. Alexander, I just want to ask you this. Even though this event ends at 11, I did mention that you guys do this pretty often. How can somebody get involved in the next cleanup? Is it somewhere where they go online? Do they call somebody? What do they do?
What they can do is we do these events quarterly. Here in the city of Stockbridge, they can call our executive assistant, Rosalind Rawls, at 678-833-3348. Again, that's 678-833-3348. Ask for Rosalind Rawls and let you know you're going to sign up for the Stockbridge community cleanups. And this is going to be a citywide initiative as Keep Stockbridge Beautiful in the near future as well.
All right. Thank you so much for making some time for me. I know you got to get back to work and keep beautifying Henry County, specifically Stockbridge, but I do appreciate you for taking a little second out of your day, your birthday, to join me. And by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you, Fox 5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, you guys, just like that event that's happening out there, we know that people are doing things all across the city of Atlanta, here in Georgia, in order to honor the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We know that the Children's Museum of Atlanta has put out a pretty cool exhibit for your kids. While it doesn't harp on MLK, they do have an exhibit on the Tuskegee Airmen, which is a beautiful story in and of itself. I want to get right out to our Eli Jordan, who's been on the scene there. Eli, can you talk to us more about the exhibit and how the kids have been receiving it?
Yeah, the kids have been loving it. They're out here, getting their pictures made for the photos. They really like the flight simulator, but it's really cool that the Children's Museum of Atlanta has this Tuskegee Airmen exhibit going on, because Tuskegee Airmen were the very first black squadron in our military ever, and in World War II, and they were pretty good at what they did. They had 179 missions, and they only lost bombers during 7 of those missions, which is quite a good record. But with me now is Karen Kelly. She is the Director of Exhibits and Education here at the, get you in focus here, at the Children's Museum. Tell me, why the Tuskegee Airmen exhibit here?
We love this exhibit partially because it combines wonderful hands-on activities that help kids see and dream with a wonderful story that is very much a story for Atlanta, Georgia, and the South, where the Tuskegee Airmen trained in Alabama. They went and did the missions, as you mentioned, and then a lot of them ended up flying for Delta Airlines. And over here you can see some of our future pilots flying the plane. They're obviously having a great time doing that. Oh, you're doing a good job over there. Yes, great job flying. You got this. And the pilots, and of course, they're getting some people on their plane. So they're just flying.
And you got a lot, you got the little activity centers here.
You got the little activities here.
People were making some paper airplanes over here.
Paper airplanes, so
and
they
got
can
the airport landing. They can do their own design. But also too, I like these kiosks over here.
Yeah, the kiosks have the history on them, and I find it really exciting. I'm a history buff, as I mentioned to you before. It has real artifacts and objects in it. So we've got a sewing kit down here that the pilots use to maybe mend a uniform or a parachute, and then next to it is their window cleaner. So when the planes got dirty, just like now, bugs flew into the planes, they had to wipe the windows off and keep them clean so they could see while they were flying.
And the cars, though, here, I mean, these were more than just decoration. This is for, I guess, leisure, but also, too, keep your mind sharp about what enemy aircraft look like.
Exactly, yes. And spotter cards were something that was very key in World War II. You have to remember, we didn't have all the tools we have now to see planes incoming. So they would give them out to children, and children on the West Coast or the East Coast would have these spotter cards, and they would look up at the sky looking for enemy aircraft. Now, as we know, there wasn't much enemy aircraft action, but they felt engaged and involved with the war and supporting it. There's also a manual for one of the planes. What I love about the manual is that the Tuskegee Airmen were amazing and incredible people, but they had a whole support crew behind them, and the manual just leads to that very obvious thing about the mechanics who kept the planes going. And then then all the people who kept the base going, so the nurses, the doctors, the cooks, all the people who were essential to keep the airmen in the air.
It is, one heck of a story. I mean, are there any more surviving airmen around?
Sadly, no. The last Tuskegee Airman died last fall in September. However, we are going to have pilots from Delta, retired pilots from Delta who actually knew the Tuskegee Airmen, and one of them is coming to talk in February.
How long does this exhibit run for?
The exhibit closes on May 10th, so we've got some time to come see it. I hope everybody will come on down and have fun and get their picture taken and just get engaged with all the fun in the exhibit.
Real quick, tell me your website and your hours for the weekend.
Okay, our hours for the weekend are 9:30 to 4:30. Our website is childrensmuseumatlanta.org.
And you're open on Monday as well, though.
We are open on Martin Luther King Day, yes.
Awesome. And just real quick, just what do you want people to come away with as they, come to Children's Museum of Atlanta?
I think if they come away with the message right next to me that you can aim high, you can expect to win. Your brain is your best tool. You can do anything you want. You just have to keep trying and believing in yourself. Those are the messages I want our children to come away with when they visit the museum.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen Kelly, and Children's Museum of Atlanta and Judea. That's what's going on here. It's a really good opportunity. If you don't know much about the Tuskegee Airmen, you can come down here, let your kid get himself worn out, and you can do a little bit of research yourself. Look at the kiosks here, which are really cool, and just talk about Black Americans and aviation here in America, and the history of it. And the Tuskegee Airmen were the pioneers of aviation, Black Americans in the military, and like I said, they were really good at what they did. They didn't lose very many bombers at all, and they suddenly became the requested protection squadron of bombers towards the end of the World War II. Judea, back to you.
Eli, the more I learn about the Tuskegee Airmen, the more and more I am impressed. I just love that we are able to take this time out to reflect on some of Black history, which, by the way, is U.S. history. It is our history, and love that the kids are getting this broken down for them in a way that encourages them to be confident and to think and to move forward with their heads held up high. So I appreciate you bringing us this live look from the museum there. And I know a little later on, we're hoping to get out to a couple of more community cleanup events as we continue to honor the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., which, by the way, in addition to all of the service projects that will be happening, we do want to let you know that there will also be a commemorative service that you can watch live here on Fox Local on Monday. Getting you a little bit more information about that. Monday, of course, is the federal holiday where we remember the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he was from Atlanta. And so, of course, we wrap our arms around him and his legacy wholeheartedly. So on Monday, the annual MLK Jr. Beloved Community Commemorative Service will take place at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where MLK was the reigning pastor as well as his father. It is a culmination of series of community outreach events that will end in that service that anybody can attend, and there will be quite a few celebrities that'll make some special appearances, especially during the performance parts of this event. So Fox 5 Atlanta is the proud partner of the King Center. We will be broadcasting and live streaming this event. You can watch with us on the Fox Local app. You can also watch that on your smart TV and your phone, by the way. You can stream it on fox5atlanta.com/live, or you can join us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, where a lot of you guys are right now, and you can leave comments in real time. So if you love how the ceremony is going, you liked a performance, or maybe you didn't like one, weigh in our comment section. It's an open dialogue for all of us to have. This year's keynote speaker is Reverend A.R. Bernard Sr. He's the founder and chairperson of the Christian Cultural Center Global. This will all take place at 10 a.m. on Monday. And again, it's the Ebenezer Baptist Church. If you guys can't get there physically in person, don't worry, you can stream it live. All right, we also know that earlier this week, our governor, Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp, delivered his final State of the State address, in which he talked about a number of things, including some money that could be kicked back to us through some taxes, programs. He also talks about the Dream Scholarship, which helps a lot of our students in their efforts to continue their education through the Peach State. He announced a $325 million investment through the Dream Scholarship. But before I take his, take it all from him and let the cat out of the bag, I want to let you listen into what he had to say about that move.
Along with these unprecedented investments, Georgia is truly the national leader in merit-based aid for higher education between the Hope Scholarship and grant programs. But in this era of high prices and new challenges for those graduating from high school, we also recognize the advantage that need-based financial assistance can give to those who would not otherwise be able to access higher education. Like their peers who have the means to attend college, these students have great dreams for rewarding careers and impactful lives. But they don't always have hope that those dreams can become a reality. Dreams without the benefit of hope remain dreams deferred, perhaps for entire generations. How much richer would the lives of those and their families be if they could attain the type of education that leads to a high-paying job with great benefits? And how much would communities across our state benefit from these young people getting a degree that opens their door or starts a rewarding career? I believe we owe it to every child to ensure they start out on a level playing field, no matter their zip code. Therefore, my amended budget proposal invests $325 million in the University System of Georgia's Dream Scholarship Program, the first need-based scholarship of its kind in Georgia history. In future years, this one-time endowment will create opportunities for generational economic advancement for thousands of students. And down the road, it will allow them to complete college and begin meaningful careers without the burden of crippling debt. The Dream Scholarship will build on the incredible, unmatched legacy of the Hope Scholarship and leave no stone unturned when it comes to student achievement in our state. From now on, throughout the country, Americans will know that hopes and dreams are alive right here in the great state of Georgia.
So then you guys heard it live, or heard it from Governor Brian Kemp there himself, where he talked about that big money donation and investment into the Dream Scholarship. That's the word I was looking for, investment. We have a lot more coming up where we'll be talking about what he addressed during that state address. And again, it is his final, because there will be an election to figure out who our new governor of Georgia will be. He has finished his terms in office. All right, coming up after this, we still have to talk to you about the weather. A lot of people have been asking about the snow, about the cold. Yes, it is January, but is it going to get even colder? We'll have more on that with our meteorologist, Alex Forbes, when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Jade Murray. This is our meteorologist, Alex Forbes. I also got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, so busy morning.
Well, I know the big question everybody has is it going to snow? We've been asking you this over and over again.
Is it going to snow? And then they conveniently leave out the location of where they're asking about, because you could be asking about the North Pole. The answer is yes, right?
It's going to snow somewhere.
It's going to snow somewhere.
Here?
So we're getting new information in, new model runs and so forth, and I'm not at the point to where I'm going to go change my forecast based on those model runs. So basically what had happened yesterday was the models backed off and went south a little bit, and I did not adjust my forecast. And now they're coming back north to where my forecast point is. So look, people in Metro Atlanta should not expect snow tomorrow morning. But there is a possibility that happens. It's very reminiscent to the 2014 event where the higher amounts are to the south, you get just a light dusting on the northern periphery of wherever the snow ends up happening. It's just that million-dollar question of where is that shutoff line? Last year we nailed it pretty well. We had a pretty high degree of confidence right leading up to the event, like that Cobb County I-85 corridor area. I don't want you to think back to that and go, well, that's what they said then and they were okay on it. And then you look at this, we don't have as high of a degree of confidence today as we did last year in the second event.
Okay, well, that's fair, and thank you for being transparent about how that works and stuff for us as we watched our forecast. Now, you talked about 2014, but let's just go back to last year. What was the coldest winter month?
January. Yeah, it was. So you remember we had those 2 snow events in January?
Yes, I do. I was here.
It was all averaged out. January definitely the coldest month, as is usual. In fact, I believe last week and this week are typically, when you look at the average highs and lows, the coldest weeks of the year. So, you know, it's a small puzzle piece to what we're looking at for tomorrow. I think we've seen a number of Arctic outbreaks already this year. That, to me, is the bigger thing is, okay, yeah, we just keep on racking them up, and maybe another one on the horizon for next week. I think January this year will probably go down as the coldest month as well.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my next question for you. Are we going to really repeat that? Watch, rinse, repeat?
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, January will be the coldest month. And if it's not January, then it's February.
Okay.
If you're looking for spring, you'll get that in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we know that southern part of our state may see some snow overnight.
Well, I think central and southern Georgia have a decent chance of seeing something. It's the southern parts of our area, of the Fox 5 area, that has that chance of seeing something. That's the maybe part. South of there, Macon, yeah, I think you're going to see some snow down in that area.
So
down towards
wild
Cordele, you know, Hawkinsville, Dublin, those spots. Yeah, I think snow's in the picture there.
That's so wild to me because that's actually where my extended family is from. And when I always think about those areas, I think hot, even in January. Not tomorrow, obviously.
Well, and keep in mind, so that same event last year where we got that dusting here in Atlanta and that shutoff was in Cobb County, that was the same event where we had those insane totals down to the south. Crisp County, which is 60 or 70 miles south of Macon, picked up 9 inches of snow. So that, I mean, I'm not saying that's happening now, but that is a perfect example of this type of system with the higher impacts down to the south.
Why is that?
So basically, it's similar setup to now. The cold air was here. We were not dependent on cold air. And what happened was you got a system moving in from the Gulf. Well, between the coastline and us, you're going to lose more moisture, right? It's going to precipitate itself out. So basically, it was like a big rainmaker that a rain equivalent would have only been a 9/10 of an inch of rain. It's just the atmosphere is full of moisture.
And super duper cold.
Super cold, and it can't sustain that moisture for long, so it snows.
Okay. Well, kind of cool to learn all this stuff from you. This is like a science class for me. I want to ask you this too. I know better than to ask you more than 7 days in advance of our forecast.
But you're going to do it anyway.
No, I'm not. I'm not. What I am going to ask you though is for the kids who may be watching or their parents are watching who are a little southern, Tuesday.
Okay, so good question. Monday, if school were planned for Monday, which in many cases it's not because of the Martin Luther King holiday,
federal holiday,
we would have black ice issues Monday morning. We will have black ice issues Monday morning. So if you have any plans before noon on Monday.
Yeah, that's still going to be an issue for people who do plan on going out to these service projects.
Yes, that's going to be something. Where now keep in mind, right, like I'm not talking about downtown Atlanta necessarily because I'm not forecasting snow in Atlanta, but anywhere that has moisture, snow, something on the ground Sunday night, that is going to be a problem Monday morning. Tuesday, well, Monday afternoon, the sun's going to come out and everything's going to evaporate. So Tuesday morning is going to be just cold. Just dirt cold.
Goodness gracious. All right. So I take it our winter weather advisory is still in effect.
So it takes effect at 3 a.m.
Sorry.
And we'll go until
But we'll
noon.
still be in effect.
I suspect we'll see something Sunday night for black ice potential. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Whew. Well, thank you for walking us through everything that we needed to know moving ahead. We'll see you again in about 30 minutes to get another look at our forecasts. Since, as we know, things can change, and whether they do or they don't, we want to make sure that you are aware. All right. Coming up, you guys, I'm looking ahead. I have a couple of headlines to run through with you, but actually it looks like we are going to take a quick pause. And when we come back, we'll go over some of the top things that are happening in our area. Alex, thanks for joining me. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. There's a video that went viral this past week into the weekend. We got to talk about it because now we know more about the man who was seen in it. You're taking a look at a 65-year-old man who was caught on video yelling racial slurs. It seemed that he was talking to the security guard. This all happening outside of a, hold on, let me find my notes here. All seemingly happening outside of a Social Security office in Gwinnett County. His name is Robert Burke. Again, he is 65 years old, and due to this video that you've probably seen, I mean, it was on all of the blogs, a bunch of different social media accounts. They say that he'll be facing disorderly conduct charges, and police emphasize that he thought that what he was saying was free speech. In the video, the tirade, you could hear him yelling the F-bomb. At some point in time, he yells out the N-word. I believe he says it twice. And then at some point in that tirade, he says that, you know, what are you going to do about it? It's free speech. Well, according to the Gwinnett County Police Department, free speech does not protect what they call, quote unquote, fighting words. I want to let you listen in to what Corporal Angela Carter from the Gwinnett County Police Department says consists of fighting words.
are exceptions to the First Amendment. Those include fighting words. So basically, you can't make statements face-to-face to someone that may entice violence in that moment. There were other individuals on the scene that potentially could have been victims of the crime of simple assault, but they chose not to prosecute.
So again, the man that you're looking at there on your screen, he has been identified, Robert Burke. We've tried to reach out to him by email because even though there is this video, really anybody is considered innocent until proven guilty, and he should have the opportunity to speak up for himself. However, we have not had our emails responded to. Again, this video has gone viral with so many people. I mean, tens and thousands of likes and shares across multiple social media platforms. With this, Corporal Angela Carter has asked citizens to continue recording such incidents. That way the police department has a better idea of who they're dealing with, who they're looking for, and to try to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen. I do want to let you know, when police got to the scene of this particular place, it had happened outside that Social Security office. It also, I believed, there was something at a Duluth hotel, but when they got to the scene, that man was nowhere to be found. But because there was video of the incident, they were later able to identify him and then bring those charges. So like I said, that corporal is saying, if you see something, start recording, and that may be able to help a case. We're also learning more about the Fulton County Jail nurse who is experiencing her own charges. She's now in the jail that she used to work at. They say that she tried to smuggle in weed, cigarettes, jewelry, and American Deli. Now, for those of you who don't know, American Deli, they serve wings, they serve Philly cheesesteaks, their fries are pretty good, they serve really good drinks, but as good as the food might be, I don't think it's worth your freedom. So what we're learning about this incident is that woman that you see there on your screen was a contract nurse, 34-year-old Naomi Marie Anthony. She's from Decatur. She's booked into the Fulton County Jail on Thursday. According to jail records, she's facing felony charges for obtaining, procuring, or giving an inmate tobacco products without authorization. So authorities say that she had an improper relationship with an inmate, and through that she was bringing in these things, like I told you, that American Deli food, drugs, they say jewelry, and they say a couple of other different things. She was caught on surveillance camera handing over these illegal contraband items to multiple inmates. They say they got wind of what she was doing, actually, because they found a note left by that said she would be doing those things and participating in those things. Now, the sheriff's office, who has obviously heard about this, they have fired her, they have put her in custody. Sheriff's office says they're going to be upgrading their x-ray security at jail entrances, hoping that something like this never happens again. But as we know, the woman that you're looking at there on your screen is 34-year-old Naomi Marie Anthony. She was a contract nurse at the Fulton County Jail who allegedly had an improper relationship with an inmate, would bring in illegal contraband, and was quote-unquote caught doing so. She was asking for payments from the inmates who she helped out, payments made via Cash App. Investigators have not told us the exact amount of money that she had received through Cash App or how long that scheme had been active. But I also want to talk to you about some financial news. Tax season is coming up. The IRS has launched a Get Ready site in order to help you file your taxes. And this is really important because there are some big changes that have come, and you're going to want to know this depending on if you want a bigger refund check, you want a refund check at all, or maybe some of these changes may make it so you're not going to get as much money as you were anticipating. There are going to be numerous resources for taxpayers, including information on how changes like buying a house or losing a job can impact your taxes. A couple of other things that you want to look out for. According to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed into law on July 4th of 2025, there are a couple of other deduction rules. Many of them really affect workers and seniors. Again, it could mean a bigger refund coming your way, but only if you're aware of these deductions, these qualifications, and you know to go ahead and file for them. So one of those examples, no tax on tips. There's been a new law created that will make a temporary deduction for tips up to $25,000 for tax years 2025 through 2028. That deduction phased out taxpayers with a modified adjusted gross income of over $150,000, and tips have to have been earned in an occupation that is listed on the Treasury's list of qualified occupations. Now, again, if you go to this website, you'll be able to get more information and linked to websites like what's up there on the Treasury. We also know that there's some more deductions for seniors, so older Americans, anybody 65 years old or older as of December 31st, 2025. If you earn no more than $75,000 a year, you could also get an additional $6,000 deductions. Pretty sweet. This is President Donald Trump's nod to his pledge to end taxes on Social Security benefits. Last one I'll talk to you about, although there are so many more, the no tax on car loan interest, which is effective for 2025 through 2028. So people may be able to deduct interest paid on a loan used to purchase a qualified vehicle. And I quote, if you bought a car and it was assembled in the United States and you borrowed money, you could get up to $10,000 in deductible loan interest. This is all coming from a tax expert. So your best bet, if you don't know what you're doing or you just have any doubt at all, you're going to want to reach out to a tax expert, somebody who can take a look at your W-2s, your 1099 forms, anything else that you have that can talk to how much money you've made in the year, how much money you've spent on a number of different items, anything that could help lower the amount of money that you would owe the state, or maybe make a greater the amount of money that you could get back from the state of Georgia. You're going to want to hand over to them, let them run through the numbers and crunch the numbers, look through these different tax deductions that could be available and help you get what you are looking for. Again, the IRS launched a Get Ready website that will help you with your taxes, but at the end of the day, you should probably still reach out to a tax expert to help yourself. All right, and no real ID fees start February 1st. So get ready. Make sure you have your real ID if you have any plans to travel upcoming in the next couple of months or just this year at all, because starting February 1st, if you don't, TSA will be charging you $45. Now, where does that money go? According to the TSA, anytime there's any type of process where there's administrative fees involved, it has to pay for it somehow. So the TSA says that the fee helps cover the cost of verifying someone's identity. Remember, you're gonna want to get one of those. To know if you have a real ID, you may already have one, so let me be specific. Look on your license. You're gonna want to look for, I think it's a little logo in the side that has a star. If you have one of those, you should be good. You can go ahead and go out to one of the county offices, the DMV. I'm actually not sure what it's called here in Georgia. The DMV is what I'm used to calling it in New York, and it might be the same thing. And it looks like it's the same thing. You might want to go out there and check as well to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. Your passport is not going to cut it. You need a real ID. There's the star that I was talking to you about right there on the screen. All right, and there's some big news coming that will affect, could affect your kids. Let's start with measles cases higher and higher in the state of Georgia. We've been talking to you about the flu, but maybe we should have been focusing on the measles, because we know, according to the Georgia Department of Public Health, we've already gotten some of the first measles cases of 2026. Here in Georgia, there was a baby diagnosed in the Savannah area. That baby was too young for the vaccine, and measles is extremely contagious. So if you have it, they're really asking for you to let the government know so that you can be quarantined in the appropriate way. But the CDC says South Carolina is in the middle of an outbreak as well, and doctors fear that this could only get worse. Our Rob DiRienzo, one of our reporters, dug a little deeper into this. Here's the information that he was able to find. There's been a grave warning from doctors to parents in Georgia over that rise in measles cases. Last year, officials tracked 10 cases statewide, and so they want you to be aware, make sure that you're looking out for your children, and again, if your child seems to be showing any symptoms, anything of the sort, they want you to reach out to leaders, officials who can help make sure that they are quarantined in the right way. One of those doctors that we talked to works with partnership to fight infectious disease. And last year says that Georgia brought in the highest number of measles cases since 1991. And she worries that that progress will be lost. Measles, again, you guys, is highly contagious. It's spread through coughs and sneezes, but it can also live on surfaces. So you have to be careful about what you're touching. Make sure that you're wiping things down, whether you're at work, maybe teaching your children to bring wipes into school and just making sure that they're being safe. If you're in doubt, there are vaccines that are available for you. They're up to 98% effective, just 2 doses. But again, if you're not sure where to turn, public health experts say the best person to talk to is your child's doctor. Now, I do want to let you know in 2023, Georgia reported around 90% of children had gotten the MMR vaccine. The CDC and the World Health Organization say the number needs to be closer to 95% to protest against an outbreak. But with that 95%, excuse me, that I reported in 2023, we know that these times around these years, more parents are opting out of vaccinating their kids. So a new report shows that ever since the pandemic, non-medical vaccine exemptions have risen to about 3%, including those who have religious or personal beliefs that stop them from going ahead and getting a vaccine. Medical experts say that the growing clusters of unvaccinated children could drive future outbreaks like the ones that we're seeing in South Carolina and potentially could see here in Georgia. Most families are still getting vaccinations, with federal data showing that 96% vaccination rate has been reported for kindergartners. But that's really big, as we've been talking to you about what could potentially happen as your kids go on to school. We know that younger children will be able to move on to the 1st grade. We'll talk to you more about that big rule change that's come to Gwinnett County in just a second. But another big story I want to talk to you all about while I have your attention and while we're talking about kids, the YouTube parental guidelines have changed. You have a little bit more control over what your kids are watching and their viewing habits. The popular streaming site announced that parents can actually set time limits for viewing short form videos. This is something that I have been using for myself. I'm not a child, but I do need my sleep. And I am known to scroll and scroll and scroll through YouTube videos. I love me some Judge Judy, but when it's late at night and I'm supposed to be getting up early in the morning, that's probably not the best thing for me or my eyes. You guys know I wear glasses. So for children, adults are able to set some better parameters for their kids. Limits range from 0 minutes to 2 hours. For me, I have mine set at 2 hours. Parents will also be able to set custom bedtime and take a break reminders. And so with me, that 2 hours that I have, at the end of it, YouTube will put up a slate that says, hey, maybe it's time you take a break. And then I go ahead and I listen to it. I put my phone down and I get more rest. Now, if you let your kids watch videos on your phone, YouTube says it'll actually be easier to switch between teen and adult accounts, or YouTube Kids and adult accounts, which is pretty cool. So that's something coming up that we'll be looking out for. But I did want to let you know that YouTube is giving parents a little bit more control over what their kids, their teens are watching, how long they're able to watch for, so you can make some healthier decisions for your family. All right, so coming up, we're still keeping this conversation open about weather. A lot of us have been wondering about the snow and about the cold air. It is really, really chilly, so we'll be learning more about these frigid temperatures and how long they'll last when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. We got a lot of news coming up ahead for you, but I did want to take some time to address our live chats that are going on, whether you are joining us on TikTok, YouTube, maybe you're watching us on the Fox Global app or fox5atlanta.com/live. Maybe you're listening to us on the radio right now and you're driving. First of all, be safe, but thank you for joining me. Now, a lot of you guys have been weighing in. This is exactly what we wanted. I told you that I would get back to addressing a couple of y'all. So one of the stories that we were talking to you all about that we'll get to in just a second, it was that man who was caught using some racial slurs on camera. Well, one of you, Ricodius Rex, which actually I see you in the chat a lot, so shout out to you. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Says, fighting words used to be permission to escalate force and violence by police. Glad to know they are using it properly. It used to be used as that, as saying something vulgar to the police that really made them angry. He went on and on to say a little bit more, but I'll stop it there. Again, we'll be talking about that story in depth in just a second, but in case you're like, well, what is he talking about? Fighting words, First Amendment rights. What are we talking about there? In that story, that man was seen on camera. He used, I believe he dropped the F-bomb to a security guard, and then at some point he uses the N-word, and I actually think he says it twice. Now, he says, what are you going to do about it? Free speech. A First Amendment right that all of us United citizens have. However, according to the police, freedom of speech only pertains to when you are talking about things that don't include quote unquote fighting words. You're looking at that video on your screen right now. We know that video has gone viral. I've seen it everywhere on social media, so I'm sure you have too. But again, he says, what are you going to do about it? Because it's freedom of speech, but according to the police department, not necessarily. You would be surprised at what is not protected under your First Amendment rights. So we'll get more into that story in just a second. Another thing you guys have been talking about, snow. Let's see, when in the world is somebody going to do something? They're talking about the ice stories that we have been addressing for you all, which we'll get to in literally just a second. A Mexican national died in ICE custody here in Georgia, so we'll have that story in just a second. Someone else said that maybe he can sue the county for First Amendment violations. Case law slurs are covered under the First Amendment. I actually don't know if you are right, Enjoyer 762, but that is interesting, and maybe that's something that we should look into for our reporting. So I'll go ahead and forward that along to a reporter here. Maybe it'll come up, especially if, you know, charges do continue. Let's see. Go back to TikTok. I see some people talking about the jail story, which again we'll get to in just a second. There was a nurse who was caught allegedly smuggling in weed, cigarettes, jewelry, and American Deli, which is a well-known wing spot here in Atlanta. Says she was smuggling food into the jail. Someone said going to jail for wings is wild. Another person said justice for the nurse. So we're keeping an eye on everything that you guys have, the questions you have, but also the comment section. And keep in mind, we are also talking to you throughout this live stream about Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That is Monday, but people are celebrating early, getting out there, doing service projects, because MLK Day, as we know, it shouldn't just be a day off, because it is a federal holiday. Some of y'all are going to be home, but it should also be a day on, where you are going out into the community, helping people out, beautifying your space, or just giving back in some way. So we have a couple of stories on those too. But let's get back into one of those top stories, because I do see so many of you guys wanting to know more about this ICE story. This man that you're going to see on your screen in just a second was born in Mexico, and he died in a Georgia ICE facility. Here's what we know about that situation. His name is Heber Sanchez. He's at least the 5th person to die in ICE custody in our country in 2026. And keep in mind, it's only January 17th. This is a pace that's already exceeding the 32 deaths recorded during a record-breaking 2025. They say they found this man Wednesday, really early in the morning. He was found unresponsive in his sleeping quarters at the Robert A. Dayton Detention Facility, according to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They say that he was found hanging in his facilities, his sleeping quarters. Now, on Thursday, the Mexican consulate requested that the circumstances of his death be clarified because while the agency provided details on how he was found, ICE has not yet responded to inquiries of whether his death is being investigated as a suicide or a homicide. Now, Sanchez was in federal custody for only about 6 days prior to his death. His path to that facility out in Lovejoy, Georgia began on January 7th when Richmond County deputies arrested him on a traffic violation. Now, according to ICE, Sanchez reported no signs of distress during his initial intake process, so they say they had no reason to believe that he would need more supervision or that he needed to be in a special place. So the agency maintained in a statement that it is, and I quote, committed to ensuring all individuals in custody reside in safe, secure, and humane environments where they provide comprehensive medical care. We know that he was a husband, he was a father of 2 small children. His death has sparked a lot of debate, a lot of questions that we don't have all the answers to just yet. There is a GoFundMe page in which funds gathered are supposed to be used to cover his funeral and repatriation costs. Sorry, that word got me, you guys. As well as provide some financial support for his family, for those children. Now, another big story, as I mentioned to you, is the weather. From ICE, everybody wants to know about the snow here in Georgia. So let's move forward with our weather forecast, taking a live look outside the city of Atlanta. Big question is whether snow will threaten a certain part of Georgia. We know it's not going to hit the metro area, according to our meteorologist, Alex Forbes, but let's check in with him to see where exactly should be a little worried about what is coming up. Alex?
For you, it's been a significant shift now, and we're going to take a look. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Now I can.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get to it. Live look here up towards Midtown. Here's the thing. Temperature beginning to go up now that we're getting a couple peaks of sunshine, up to 53 later this afternoon. All right, whoop-de-doo. Let's talk about this. The winter weather advisory, if we could take this full, you can see over here on the left side, you're going to be looking for some snow totals up to an inch in this purple shaded area. This is going to be Jasper, Putnam, over towards Monroe. That's going to be Jones and Baldwin counties, all included in this winter weather advisory. And the big shift that has happened now in the last 30 minutes is our last in-house model that was not on board with this has gotten on board with this, okay? So first, your snow forecast, and if we can drop this across the bottom of the screen as well, because everything that we're going to be looking at is going to be down there. So there you go, towards Thomaston, over towards Monroe County, Jasper and Putnam counties. This is where we have less than an inch of accumulation, but still the chance of snow accumulation in these spots. Greensboro, Madison, Monticello, Eatonton, Forsyth, down to Thomaston and Talbotton. Again, less than an inch is the forecast right now. This yellow line right here, that's the shutoff line, all right? That has the possibility of inching further north by a couple of miles. It also has the possibility of inching south by a couple of miles. And the trend this morning, and the graph coming in, which I'm going to show you here in a second, our high resolution model has furthered this trend, has been a shift north. All right, so now that I have that information, I might go in and adjust this forecast here in the next little bit. I got to go look at a couple more things before I do it, but that is a possibility. Higher amounts down to the south, still less than 2 inches, but 1 to 2, we'll say, as just throwing numbers out there in that darker blue area. I'd still think if you're in Crawford County, Peach County, could you see less than an inch? Absolutely. That's why I'm saying less than 2 in that darker shaded color. So it's this yellow area that we're watching for potential forecast changes. That's where we're saying don't let your guard down. All right, Judea, here is this graph model now. I actually did not show it all morning because I didn't buy it. It had snow way down to the south. It was not pulling it up to where we have the winter weather advisory, to where one of our other models really has been consistent in showing the snow, but now it has. All right, so here we go. Saturday night, there we go, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. It is worth noting that at times it will rain tonight in Metro Atlanta before the temperatures get below freezing. Here we go, 2, 3 o'clock. Here's your northerly breeze. You see those white lines moving. And notice this particular model now has the snow in Pike, Lamar, and Upson counties over towards Jasper County. And it continues to build in that moisture now into the morning hours. You saw it coming by the southeastern parts of our area, and then particularly Macon and southward as well, picking up on that. This model last night had the snow like way down in Baxley. This is a significant shift. This is a several 100-mile shift, and it's on board with most everything else now. Here's what it does in terms of snow totals. Again, still not looking for anything in Metro Atlanta, but you see up to about a ½ inch there down on the south side, Thomaston over towards Eatonton, with higher amounts once you get down south of Lake Sinclair. A couple of other models here. This is our European model, pretty much in line with the graph model now, less than an inch south of I-85, but you get some flurries maybe a little further north out of this European solution. The GFS, this is a little more bullish, if you will, right? It brings snow all the way up to I-85. We do not have this forecasted at all, right? I'm not forecasting 2/10 of a snow inch in Atlanta, 2/10 of an inch of snow in Atlanta. Say that 5 times fast. I'm forecasting nothing, but is that out of the realm of possibilities? Absolutely not. This is the NAM model here. You can see it's pretty much in line with everything else. So again, the big shift is that the last model that was the outlier in this has now gotten on board, and almost everything now showing snow south and east of Atlanta for tomorrow. That gives us a greater degree of confidence in the forecast now. You might remember all week we've been talking about 24 hours out, 24 hours out. Here we are 24 hours out, and the last model just got on board, so that's going according to plan. Regardless, tomorrow is going to be cold. Overnight low of 29, high temperature of 40 Judea, but with that wind chill, it's going to make it feel like 30 at its warmest.
Alex, in just a little bit, I'm going to pick your brain because after that update that you gave us, I have even more questions coming up for you, so I hope you're ready.
I'll be as ready as I can be.
Thank you so much for giving us another live look at our forecast and everything that we need to know in order to keep ourselves safe as the day continues and as the week goes ahead. That was really helpful. I want to get back into some of our top news of the day, though, while I have everybody watching here on Fox Local, on YouTube, on TikTok, and the rest of the places where we are streaming. Let's start with this video of a man who was caught, it went viral, using racial slurs. So his name is Robert Burke. He's 65 years old, and according to police, he will now be facing disorderly conduct charges as a viral video captured him screaming the N-word went and had its rounds on social media. Gwinnett County Police arrested him after there were some reported disturbances at a Social Security office in Norcross, as well as a hotel in Duluth. According to Gwinnett County Police, officers were called to the Social Security office on Shackleford Road on January 14th. Investigators say that witnesses provided video that you have seen everywhere showing that man yelling racial slurs. Again, it has gone viral. Police said that multiple children were present during this incident. Employees identified the man in the video as 65-year-old Robert Burke. They told officers that he had created disturbances at their location in the past. Burke was not on the scene when officers arrived, but a warrant was issued charging him with disorderly conduct. Now, thanks to the video that was captured, that's how they knew what he looked like, in addition to the name that they were given from those officers. The guard who he allegedly was screaming at in the video said that Burke became irate. And again, he could be seen yelling at people and children at the scene. And I quote, well, I won't quote this because he actually drops the F-bomb, but he gives off a spiel, a tirade, I guess you could say, of some inappropriate language. And when he was confronted, he replied, "What are you going to do? It's free speech." Well, according to Corporal Angela Carter from the Gwinnett County Police Department, there are limits to freedom of speech, your First Amendment right. Let's listen to what she had to say.
There are exceptions to the First Amendment. Those include fighting words. So basically, you can't make statements face-to-face to someone that may entice violence in that moment. There were other individuals on the scene that potentially could have been victims of the crime of simple assault, but they chose not to prosecute.
And so, again, she tells us a little bit more information about that incident. Again, that even though he says, well, freedom of speech, that isn't necessarily covered because, quote unquote, he was using fighting words that could be seen that way. We also know that there were children on the scene. Police say that other individuals at the scene could potentially have been victims of simple assault, but again, they chose not to prosecute. We have tried to reach out to Burke because while there is this video that's out there, everyone is considered innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. And so it looks like we're moving on to the next story. You guys, let me clear this banner and we'll reset. Okay, so sorry, continue talking to you guys about 65-year-old Burke. While this video is out there, everyone should be considered innocent until proven guilty. And we wanted to give him the opportunity to talk about, what was happening here. Maybe there was something that we didn't see. The video starts where it starts, so we wanted to give him an opportunity to speak. He has not responded to any of our email inquiries just yet. All right, I'm looking at our time now. I got about a minute. Let me get through this story about the Fulton County Jail nurse who has been accused of smuggling weed, contraband, and other things into the Fulton County Jail. The woman that you're looking at there on your screen, 34-year-old Naomi Marie Anthony, she's from Decatur. She was booked into the Fulton County Jail where she worked because officials say that she's accused of smuggling drugs, cigarettes, jewelry, and American Deli, the place where a lot of us get our wings, our lemon pepper wet wings from. And I saw somebody in the comments say before, wings are not worth jail time. I would have to agree with you, but here's the story that we have here. They say that she was a former contract nurse, that she had allegedly had an inappropriate relationship with an inmate and was bringing a couple of inmates in different contraband. They say that they found out about this scheme because there was an incriminating note that in it said that she would be doing these things. They say that she would bring in those items into the facility in exchange for Cash App payments. Now, investigators say that Anthony went to great lengths to bypass security, because one of the questions that our staff here had, well, how do you bring so many different things into the jail? How does smuggling work? Well, according to officials, she would hide some of those items in her private areas to avoid detection during entry. And because of that, and because of the surveillance cameras that captured her with different inmates, the sheriff's office has not only fired her, has not only put her into custody, but they have also announced upgrading their X-ray security at jail entrances to prevent smuggling instances like this from happening ever again. All right, now it's about that time we have to take a step back, but I do want to let you know, coming up, we are going to continue talking to you about different events honoring the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., including a couple of community cleanup events scheduled all across Georgia. We'll have more on that when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. We know that there are a ton of people across the country, especially those here in Atlanta, gearing up for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And people aren't just making it a day where they're going to remember him from the inside, their warm homes, where they're posting quotes to social media. Some people are out on the streets right now performing community service acts, and this is in an effort to kind of further along his legacy of what he wanted to teach the people about reaching out, helping, and doing things. So I want to get out to our Eli Jordan, who's now live on the grounds at one of these cleanup events. Eli, who's hosting this one, and what are you seeing as you get out there?
Hey, good morning, Judea. I'm out here in southwest Atlanta, and I am actually in District 11 of the city of Atlanta. And there's been about 103 people coming out here to clean up their neighborhoods, and it's a day of service, and it's led by District 11 Councilman Wayne Martin. How you doing, Councilman?
I am fantastic. Good to see you all.
You were just, took office just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you're getting things going.
Yeah.
Tell me, what inspired you to do this community cleanup and what all's going on here, and who else you got working with you?
Yeah, I grew up in this community, went to high school here in this community, and I figured there's no better way to honor Dr. King than to come back home to my own community that I'm now representing as a city council member, District 11, and clean up some key intersections and key streets, and we're doing just that today.
And so tell me, the logistics, I mean, you got a bunch of people out here.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Yeah,
And, how did you get them to agree to come on out here on this early Saturday morning?
I've got a bunch of friends from Believers Bible Church. This is the site that we are staging from. I've got students from the Atlanta University Center, from Spelman, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, Georgia State University. We've got neighborhood leaders that live in the community as well. We're all out here together. We believe that many hands make light work, and so we've come together to clean up our own community, and we are beyond excited to be doing it.
And tell me, how long are you guys out here for, and how did you decide what areas of the community to clean up?
Yeah, well, registration started at 8. We started cleaning up at 9. We'll end about noon. I drove with my team. I got sworn in on January 5th. That Friday, on the 9th, we went out in a truck, drove around, and took note of where trash was. This morning, we fanned out their teams all over Southwest Atlanta, across key intersections and streets, and we're cleaning up.
Do you plan to do this later on in the year? How often do you plan to do these community cleanups?
I think we're going to try to do it at least 2 or 3 more times, maybe once a quarter, as trash accumulates and piles up. But we're hoping that as people see the streets clean, they'll stop tossing their bottles and things outside of their cars. But we're just excited about what we can do today.
And all these guys, they've been out in their assigned areas.
Yeah.
And while we were here, most of these people were just walking back up with all their gear.
That's right.
And their reflective vests.
That's
and stuff.
right.
I mean, what kind of feeling do you have to see this turnout to help you out, help your district out and stuff? And it's got to be a good feeling to have this support.
It's a great feeling to wake up this morning and it's raining a little bit, but then to pull up to see 100 young people, elderly people in the community, and leaders here. It is a really good feeling to know that people want to come together and do good for their own community.
So let's talk about real quick, just youth and service. I mean, people talk about the old days and things like that, and the community was all together.
Yeah.
But you look like a younger council person and stuff, and you brought the youth out here. How important is it to teach the youth about service, community service?
Absolutely. Dr. King taught us that the services, the rent we pay for the price that we occupy, the space that we occupy on service, on the earth. And so I'm instilling that. That was instilled in me. I'm instilling that in young people, and we're going to come together every generation to do good in our community.
Awesome. Well, this is happening here. And if people want to find out more, in your district, what should they do to find out for the next cleanup or other communities?
Go to my website, www.waynemartinatl.com. Sign up for our newsletter list. We'll share with you about how you can get involved and engage in projects just like this.
And what would you tell other maybe leaders about gathering people up and getting the crowd, getting the response like you have?
It just get you some young people. Young people bring other young people, and we can do a great impact. Many hands make light work. Young people love to serve and work. Let's get together and do it. Make our community stronger and better.
Yeah, and young people's the future of our country and our city and our towns and our neighborhood and everything too.
That's right.
And once people start cleaning up, they have a little bit of a responsibility it, and then they hold other people responsible.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, Councilman Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Judea, that's what's going on out here in South Southwest Atlanta in District 11, Wayne Martin's district, and he's got this crowd out here. They're starting to wrap up with their cleaning. We still have some people coming in with their little pickup sticks and their vests and stuff and bags of trash out here and cleaning up their community on a weekend of service as we lead into the Martin Luther King holiday. Judea?
Eli, I love seeing stuff like this. I mean, we had the mayor pro tem out in Stockbridge doing something for his community. Now we have this council member doing something for his community. And it's really nice to see the people on the streets having a hand in the beautification of the places that they live in. This is the place that they know, they love, and it's nice to see them giving back in a way like this. And of course, we're going to see people continue to do stuff like this, especially on Monday, the National Day of Service. Now, from Service Acts, we also have a commemorative service on Monday that we know we'll be able to watch live. I want to talk to you about how you'll be able to check it out because for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, there is a commemorative service that will be taking place 10 a.m. on Monday. You're taking a look at the flyer for that event. We know it's going to take place at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Fox 5 Atlanta is once again a proud partner of the King Center, so we will be broadcasting and live streaming this service. Here are a couple of different ways that you can watch. You can download the Fox Local app for your smart TV or your phone. You can stream it live on fox5atlanta.com/live. You could also join our community on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Those are places where you'll be able to leave your comments in real time. So when I tell you they have some great performers lined up, but maybe you don't think that they're great, or maybe you have a comment, you want to leave a quote from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., you can do those in real time if you are streaming with us on one of those platforms. I can let you know that this year's commemorative speaker is Reverend A.R. Bernard Sr. He's the founder and chairperson of the Christian Cultural Center Global. I can also let you know that this begins at 10 a.m. The physical event is taking place at Atlanta's historic Ebenezer Baptist Church, where, of course, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his father, at points in time, were the pastors. And if you aren't able to make that service in person, don't worry. Again, you'll be able to stream live with us here on Fox Local, the app, on one of our social media platforms, or on YouTube. You pick where you watch us. Again, that begins at 10 a.m. I do need to talk to you guys about some breaking news that we just got into our station. Police say that a woman was stabbed to death in the city of Atlanta. Because this is live and breaking, I don't have images to share with you, so here's the information that police have given us. This all taking place in the 1800 block of Donald Lee Hallowell Parkway in Northwest Atlanta. They found a woman who seemed to have sustained some sort of stab wound, and then she was pronounced dead there at the scene. We're hoping that we get some more information from the Atlanta Police Department as soon as possible, and as soon as we do, we'll get that information out to you. But we've already sent a reporter who should be there news gathering as we speak. Hopefully soon we can get some videos from that scene. I just got in touch with him. He says that soon he'll be able to share something with us. So we'll have a little bit more from that breaking news in just a little bit. Now, earlier this week, our governor, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, gave his last State of the State address. And in it, he talked about some opportunities for us Georgians to receive a little bit of money during tax season. He also talked a little bit about the Dream Scholarship, which is, we know it's one of those ways that our students are able to further along their education in a meaningful way. But I want to start with what he told us about that $250 or $500 that we could potentially be expecting during tax season. Let's listen in.
And the reality is that too many of our citizens are still struggling to make ends meet each and every day because costs are still too high. Groceries, rent, insurance, clothes for the kids, it all adds up to more than it used to. That's why my budget proposal will include a fourth one-time $1 billion tax rebate this year that will return or save the average filer $250 and a married couple up to $500. With this rebate, my administration and this General Assembly will have returned over $7.5 billion in surplus revenue to the taxpayers of our state over the last 4 years. We also know that one-time relief is a short-term solution that recognizes the state has collected more of your tax dollars than it needs to fund our priorities and save for whatever the future may bring. We must continue doing everything in our power to allow the hard-working men of our state to keep more of their hard-earned money in their pocket in the years to come. Because as I've said before, that's your money, not the government's. That's why my administration will also be proposing a further 20 basis point reduction in our state's personal and corporate income tax rate, bringing it down to just 4.99%. This will fulfill a promise to the people of the state that I made during my re-election campaign to lower our state income tax rate to under 5%. And with the General Assembly's passage and my signature, it will come a full 3 years ahead of schedule. This tax cut doesn't promise to pay for itself years down the road or create future budget holes with today's one-time money. Our plan fulfills my promise to the voters of this state in a responsible way. And most importantly, this plan puts all the hard-working people of our state first. The reason that we've been able to do this and through it 3 years ahead of schedule is because of our fiscal discipline. It's also worth noting a few other important accomplishments that the last few years may not have made headlines or pleased some of those that constantly advocate for bigger government. Even with the rebate and tax cuts that my office will propose this legislative session, our state's rainy day fund and strategic reserves will still stand at over $10 billion. These reserves are 4 times higher than any administration will leave behind in our history, and enough to run state government for 3 full months. But I also want to provide a word of caution for the future. It's not a question if hard times will hit our state again. It is simply a question of when. When Governors Perdue and Deal were fighting alongside members of the General Assembly to pull our state through the Great Recession, billions more in state reserves would have been a critical lifeline as Georgia families, our state, and our country were experiencing incredible economic hardship. But as good leaders do, both governors made tough choices in tough times to make sure our state weathered the storm. And they both, along with the members of this legislature who serve with them, deserve our thanks and gratitude for their leadership. Fast forward to today, and Georgia stands in a historic position to confidently face whatever the future may bring. Showing fiscal restraint and continuing to build on these reserves instead of spending it all in the future may not be popular or easy. But the Georgia of today that has been built over the last 25 years does not stand on sticks made of easy.
So you heard there from Governor Brian Kemp as he was delivering his final State of the State address. That $1 billion tax rebate sounds really good if it does go through. Right now it is just a proposal, but if it does go through and you and I as single tax filers could potentially get $250, joint tax filers could potentially have an extra $500 on their hands. And while we're talking about money, coming up, we're going to have a pretty interesting interview with a woman who will speak to us about National Gift Card Day. If you don't use them, you will lose them. So going to talk about all of the money that we leave sitting on the table every single day, whether you're here in Georgia or just anywhere across the country where you've received one of those gift cards for Christmas or any other holiday, maybe even a birthday. We'll have more on that when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. Brought Alex Forbes back up to the desk with us, our meteorologist.
Yep.
Alex did have a couple of questions for you. We have started all the same. Every time you come up here, everybody's been asking about the snow. I will be specific. Here in Atlanta tonight, could we see snow?
Yes, we could.
Okay.
So there's a difference, right? We're not forecasting snow for Atlanta, but it is certainly in the realm of possibilities tonight for the area. We've got this type of system that can be extremely frustrating when it comes to forecasting because the shutoff line is going to be very sharp. There's going to be people who see snow, and there are going to be people who don't see snow. And they're going to be right next to one another, and that line is probably going to be on the south side of Metro Atlanta, but it impacts millions of people when that line is sitting right here. You might remember last year, that second event, we had that line set up in Cobb County, right? Smyrna saw snow, but Ackworth didn't. And that's the needle that we're trying to thread right now. I've been mentioning all week that the forecast was really going to begin to align 24 hours out. Well, here we are, 24 hours out, right? At this time tomorrow, we will be wrapping things up. And we just saw that last computer model get on board with this southerly solution, meaning that spots south of Metro Atlanta, when I say Metro Atlanta, I mean Fulton, DeKalb, Henry, Clayton, right? Like the core. So places like Butts County, Pike, Lamar, Upson, Jasper, Putnam, Baldwin, Jones counties could have in fact, we're forecasting now for those spots to have a dusting of snow on the ground tomorrow morning, and some of that even on the roadways, right? You're looking at impacts out of that. South of the Macon area, I'm looking at some more snow, right? Like Warner Robins down towards Perry, Cordele, Dooley County, Pulaski County, that area. I'm looking at maybe an inch or so of snow in those spots, and that is only now beginning to come into alignment. So I would expect a couple of things over the next couple of hours. The National Weather Service does we call it a wholesale update to the forecast twice a day. It's typically at 2 a.m., 2 p.m. I would expect when we get the forecast update at 2 p.m., you're going to see a lot of shifting going around in those numbers. And you're probably also going to see that winter weather advisory expand. They mentioned this morning that was going to be a possibility. Given the information that I have now, I wouldn't at all be surprised to see a tier or two of counties added to that winter weather advisory on the north side, which would bring it into the south end of the metro, it looks like. So I would not say that we're 100% there yet.
Okay.
I'm seeing some shifting around, right? I'm seeing those models make that northwesterly shift this morning. I'm seeing some tinkering being done. As I alluded to, we'll have a wholesale update at 2 o'clock from the National Weather Service. I'll be interested to see what they do because the model that they've been relying most on has actually been consistent with that line. So will they buy into this northwesterly shift? Again, a lot of questions. As of right now, for the city of Atlanta, not anticipating snow, but south and east, yes, and that's why we have the winter weather advisory.
Got you. Now, it turns out that I wasn't the only person who was so surprised that southern Georgia would be experiencing these types of, winter weather activity, and North Georgia not so much. Yes, it was going to be cold, but it was because we didn't have the precipitation.
Right.
I saw somebody in the comment section actually that was like, "This is wild, South Georgia. This doesn't belong here and not the mountains." So yeah, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. But another question for you. With that last model that you brought us, you also showed us rain forecasts, even for us here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So because it's going to be so cold and it may drop below freezing in some areas, how is road travel going to be?
Yeah, I would be on the lookout for. So first, if you see snow tomorrow morning, you're going to have road travel problems in those spots. I'm not that concerned about black ice where it rains in Metro Atlanta overnight because the wind is going to be so strong. The surface of that water is going to be moving, and when you get that little bit of, when you get air blowing across the surface of the water, it can't freeze.
No, okay.
Yeah,
see,
so
I learned something new every time you come up here.
It needs to be perfectly still for it to freeze.
Okay.
If it's moving, then it's actually creating heat. When it's moving, it's kinetic energy, so it cannot.
I learned that in school.
Yeah, can't do that. So overnight tonight in the metro area, I am not concerned about black ice. However, Sunday night into Monday morning, anywhere that still has snow on the ground, Sunday night, I would be concerned about black ice. It is worth noting, right? Sunday afternoon, the sun's going to come out for a little bit. We will get above freezing. I don't know how much of whatever falls will still be around Sunday night, but whatever's there, yeah, that's going to be a problem Monday morning.
Yikes. All right, well, thank you for keeping us updated. We'll check back in with you in about 30 minutes or so with another live look at our weather forecast. You guys, if you have any questions for Alex, now would be the time to put them in the chat. I'll review them and be able to ask him next time he's live on air with us. Alex, thanks so much for coming in here. Let's take a live look outside, though, because it is a beautiful day here in Atlanta. I'm starting to see the clouds subside even more, which is great news. But of course, it is going to be pretty cold, and depending on where you are here in the state, you may see some snow, as Alex Forbes just forecasted. But want to get you out to an interesting interview that I have planned. We are meeting up with Tracy Tilson. She's the founder of National Use Your Gift Card Day, because today is National Use Your Gift Card Day. Tracy, a lot of us got these presents for Christmas, for Hanukkah, whatever else you may celebrate, maybe even for a birthday, and we're just not using them. How many Americans are you seeing let this money go to waste, and how much money are we talking?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge numbers. Thank you for having me. And today is National Use Your Gift Card Day. But we've got about $23 billion that goes unused on gift cards. So, I mean, it's a crazy number. And it's also about 43% of Americans have a gift card that's unused. And I know I was one of them. That's how the day started. I had a whole stack of unused gift cards. And I started to think, if I've got them, I'm sure a lot of other people do. And everyone I talk to does have the same situation. So that's where the day was almost like a public service announcement to gather your gift cards and really go out and use them and enjoy them, because otherwise you're going to put them in a purse. I know firsthand, a pocketbook, a dresser drawer, and then you'll forget about them.
Tracy, I'm going to be honest with you. At home right now on my printer, I've got a Sephora gift card that I have not used just yet. And when we thought about doing this interview, it just struck me like, oh shoot, I'm one of these Americans who's leaving billions of dollars on the table.
Yeah, so, you know what's so funny? I'll even have a gift card, put it like in my pocketbook, or it will be somewhere, and go into the store that it's for and still forget to use it. I'll come back, oh my God, I forgot to use it. So I think it's something we all share. But the thing that we have to realize is they are like cash. And not only that, someone has given them to you as a gift. Yeah. So whatever you can do to gather them and really, get a plan, especially like today. Today's the official day for memory, kind of remembering you've got them. But just put them all in one place so that you have visibility, and that will help you remember to use them, next time you go out.
Tracy, big question for you, because you are the founder. Why January? Why January 17th? What is it about this point in time that makes it good, one, to remember that you have it, but two, to use it?
Yeah, it's basically so many gift cards are given during the holiday. And if you had the first 2 weeks, if you haven't used a gift card, there's a really good chance it will go unused. So we set the day, the third Saturday in January, and it's a day of intention of gift card using. So it's something that, again, if you haven't used it already, really take a look at all the ones you got from the holidays and gather them together and go use them. Make a plan, look where they're from, and have a fun day of it. Go out and go to a restaurant that you might have gotten a gift card for, go to a retailer that you might have gotten a gift card for, and really enjoy it.
Do gift cards expire? Is that a silly question?
No, they do. It depends on, again, you have to look at the back of the gift card that you got to see what their, kind of see what their requirements and how they work. But I mean, you want to make sure that the best thing you can do is use them in a timely fashion. Then you don't have to worry about anything, and you just use them. And also, if you don't use them, donate them. DonateYourCard.com is a site you can go to figure out where you might be able to use, donate your gift card, or just in your own community. Teachers, firefighters, first responders. If you've got a gift card that you're not going to use, I'm sure someone else could. So it's really, again, the whole day was formed just to have more intention about using gift cards. And also the other thing is, if someone's given you a great gift card, take a picture when you've actually got whatever you purchased with it and send a thank you note. So there's really almost like a closure of the gift card. You've actually got something where you're showing gratitude for what you did. If you're in a restaurant, take a photo, send it to whoever gave it to you. And really, that's such a great way to make it almost personalize your gift card even more.
That is great. And I'm thinking about it. When I was a kid, for birthday parties, my mom would keep a list of whoever gave me whatever and a list of what it was they gave me. And then I would send out thank you cards after every birthday party. And this kind of sounds like that. So one, it's bringing me back to my childhood. I love that. And then two, like you said, it is that, that sweet human moment where you're, talking back with the person who thought so much of you to give you something.
It 100%, and it's like something. Sometimes we forget to do that. We're so busy, and we've already thanked them maybe for the gift card. When we first received it, obviously as a gift, but showing what you actually did with it, and how you used it, and more importantly, how you enjoyed it, is a great way to show, your giver just how important it was and how much it meant to you.
Got you. Tracy, I do want to give you the opportunity again because you are the founder. I know you have a couple of tips. If you could give me maybe three that we can use starting today in order to make sure that we're not making our gift cards go to waste.
Absolutely. So first of all, treat your gift cards like cash. That's number one. When you're looking at a gift card, it's not just a gift card. There's actually, it's like cash. So treat it, if you put it in that, you'll prioritize it. Number two, create a place where you're going to keep all your gift cards. So you have organization. If you've got organization, it's going to be a lot easier to, again, not forget about them. And number three is also check promotions and sales that might be happening with your gift card so you can find out the best place and time to use them. It's just actually just focusing on your gift cards and giving them more priority because, again, it is like cash. And then the biggest thing, though, is if you can't use your gift card, really think about donating it. If you've got something, someone else would and could use it wonderfully. So those are my tips.
Tracy, thank you so much for making some time for us here on Fox 5 News Live. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise and a little bit more about what this holiday is and how everybody can make sure they're using that free money that's literally already in our hands. You don't think about the fact that you have it, but you do. So
yes, make sure you use your gift cards. Go out and get those. Make sure you use yours. I know you've got a few, you said. Just make a plan. Yes. Take some time for yourself.
And I mean, I'll let you go in just a second. But back to that Sephora gift card, kind of like you said, sometimes you'll get into the store and forget. I have probably been to Sephora 2 or 3 times since receiving that gift card, having used my money, not realizing somebody gave me money in order to do this very thing. So it's something we can all keep in mind, and I appreciate this reminder. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You as well. All right, you guys, still ahead, we have a lot more local news to tell you about. I want to run through a couple of those biggest headlines with you, including that man from Mexico who was found dead in a Georgia ICE facility. We'll also be talking more about a Fulton County jail nurse facing some time and being charged after allegedly smuggling numerous items into the jail, including weed, jewelry, and American Deli. And then we'll also be talking a little bit more about our weather. We know it's going to be super duper cold outside. We even have some financial news to get into while we were just talking about those gift cards. We'll have all that and so much more when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. The IRS has launched a website that's supposed to help you get ready for tax season. Here's what you need to know. The IRS has launched this Get Ready website. There are going to be numerous resources for taxpayers. I believe we have some video to show this. Numerous resources for taxpayers, including information how to go about changes like buying a house or losing a job, how all of those things can actually impact your taxes. And so a couple of other big changes I want to let you know about before I give you that website. We know that according to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed into law on July 4th of 2025, there are some new tax deduction rules for workers, for senior citizens. All of these things could mean that you have a lot more money coming back to you in a refund, or technically it could mean a little less. You're going to want to know what these qualifications are, how to put them in your taxes before you file them, so that you can get as much money back as you can. So here are some tax changes to be aware of when you're filing your next tax return. No taxes on tips. This was a new law that created temporary deduction for tips up to $25,000 for tax years 2025 through 2028. The deduction phases out taxpayers with a modified adjusted gross income over $150,000, and tips must be earned in an occupation that's listed on the Treasury's list of qualified occupations. Another thing, more deductions for our senior citizens. So older Americans, anybody who's 65 years old or older as of December 31st, or who earns no more than $75,000 a year, could also get an additional $6,000 deduction. This was part of President Donald Trump's nod to his pledge to end taxes on Social Security benefits. There's also no tax on car loan interest. So if you bought a car, you've been paying off that interest on a loan used to buy that car, effective between 2025 and 2028, you may be able to deduct that interest paid off on your taxes. And I quote, if you bought a car and it was assembled in the U.S. and you borrowed money, you could get up to $10,000 in deductible loan interest, which is really, really interesting. There are a lot of more tax credit expansions and other different deductions that could be available for you. But I do want to know let you know that on this Get Ready website, the IRS is recommending that you take a look at some of the things that they have listed out for you. Again, there are several changes because of the president's big, beautiful bill, and you could be leaving money on the table. The best thing for you, though, is you probably should just reach out to a tax expert, someone who can look at your 1099 or your W-2 forms, any other information like your income, and be able to let you know what you are eligible for. That's probably going to be your best bet. I also want to let you know that no real ID fees start February 1st. So if you got a plan to travel, this is something you're going to want to know. You need that real ID, you guys. If you show up at the airport without it, TSA could charge you $45. And I know you're not trying to pay that, because I'm not trying to. I don't even want to pay to check my bags. But according to TSA, anytime there's any type of process where there's administrative fees involved, it has to pay for it somehow. And so the TSA says that this fee, that $45, will help cover the cost of verifying someone's identity. So how to know if you've got a real ID? Whip out your driver's license right now. You need to look for that star. It'll either be black, I think on some people's IDs it may be gold, but you're looking for that star. If you have that star, you already have a real ID. Your passport is not going to cut it. You need a real ID. Have I said that enough yet? All right, here's some news for anyone with kids. YouTube is giving parents more control over their kids' viewing habits. They're doing this by announcing that parents can now set time limits for viewing short form videos. This is huge. So limits range from 0 minutes to 2 hours. Once that time period is up, your kid will see a notification on their screen that says, hey, maybe it's time for you to take a break. And it will not let them watch any other videos while that notification is up on their screen. Now, you will also be able to set custom bedtimes and, again, those take a break reminders. And if you let your kids watch YouTube on your phones, just want to let you know YouTube will make it easier to switch between kid, teen, and adult accounts. Again, this is a little different and this is pretty big. So if you do have children, you want to make sure that they're watching appropriate content, that they're not doom scrolling, that they're not turning into iPad kids. here's something that you can implement just using YouTube. Now, out in Gwinnett County, a school district is changing kindergarten age requirements. So that change will happen fall 2026. That's the upcoming school year. The district will require all 6-year-olds to begin first grade. Now, remember when I heard this on Fox 5 Atlanta earlier this morning on Good Day Atlanta, I was like, wait a minute. I thought all kids went to first grade when they turned 6 years old, 6 to 7 years old. But come to find out, some parents choose to hold their children back, whether it's because of a developmental delay, or maybe they just feel they're not emotionally ready to be there with the kids their age when it comes time for them to go into first grade. Well, now the district will require all 6-year-olds to go ahead and move forward. That changes that previous policy that made it so parents could use their own discretion when it came to their children and whether or not they were developmentally ready to start kindergarten. That policy is known as redshirting. It allowed some 6-year-olds to still attend kindergarten instead of going on to first grade. We talked to some parents. One of them said that this change could negatively impact her daughter. Like I mentioned, there are some parents who are a little concerned about whether or not to move their children along, whether they are ready for that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to affect the parents when it comes time for this new school year. The summer is quite a bit of time for you to figure out your next move, but that's coming up. So I wanted to make sure you were aware. Doctors are also warning our parents about the rise of measles cases in our state. Our Rob D'Arienzo did some digging into this story, and here's what he found. Georgia's Department of Public Health has already reported the first measles case of 2026. We reported that and broke that news here on Fox Local when it happened. A baby in the Savannah area who was too young for the vaccine had the measles and had to be quarantined because, as you know, the measles is extremely contagious. It can be spread through coughing, sneezing. It can also live for longer periods of time on surfaces, so you want to make sure you're wiping everything down. The CDC says South Carolina is in the middle of an outbreak, and doctors fear that it could get worse. So they're issuing that warning to our parents here in Georgia over that rise in measles cases that they're seeing in other states, saying that there's potential for it to come here. Last year, officials tracked 10 cases here in our state, but doctors fear that this year could be worse because there's a rise in vaccine skepticism. And while we're talking about that, more and more parents are opting out of vaccinating their children. This is all coming from a new report that shows that ever since the pandemic, non-medical vaccine exemptions have risen to about 3%, including those for religious or personal beliefs. Medical experts say that growing clusters of unvaccinated children could drive future outbreaks. Most families are still getting their vaccinations, with federal data showing a 96% vaccination rate for kindergartners. So I wanted to make sure you were up to date on everything that's happening here in our neck of the woods, things that could impact your pocket, things that could impact your children, and things that could impact your health. We'll have so much more news when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray, and I'm really happy that you chose to join me on this interactive news show. So essentially what's happening here, people are able to watch us from TikTok, on YouTube, as in addition to our app and listening to us on the radio. But on those social media platforms, they're able to weigh in comments, questions for our reporters, our meteorologists, and it has impacted how I'm telling you guys the news. So if you have a story that you want me to touch on, if you have a question about a story that I went over and some of the details of it, feel free to jump in. Quite a few of you have. With this point in time, though, I want to get out to our meteorologist, Alex Forbes. He's been talking to us about the chance for snow. That seems pretty good if you were in the southern part of our state, not so much in the metro area. Don't want to steal his thunder. He can pick it up from there. Alex, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Judea, so we saw showers this morning. That is the cold front arriving. That is going to bring the cooler air settling in across north and central Georgia. That is the precursor, if you will, to tomorrow morning's potential winter or whatever we see across the area. You'll see what I mean by that here in just a second. A live look up towards Midtown, getting a couple breaks in the clouds up there, a couple peaks of blue sky. Temperature in Atlanta now of 53. This is about where I expect to be through the afternoon hours. Not going much warmer than this thanks to the cloud cover. We do have that southwesterly breeze still at 10, so I'm waiting for it to gain that northern component. And when it does so later this afternoon, that's when your temperatures are going to begin to fall across north and central Georgia. Winter weather advisory in effect south and east of Atlanta. This kicks in at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning and goes until noon. This is for snow totals up to an inch. Now, I expect most areas in this purple shaded area to be below an inch when all is said and done. However, there could be some spots up or maybe even above that mark in a couple of instances. As of now, comes as far north as Upson County, Monroe County, Jasper and Putnam counties. Throw in Jones, Baldwin County, Hancock County included in that. It would not surprise me at all if in the next little bit you see some more counties added, particularly north of where this winter weather advisory is right now. We'll get an update from the National Weather Service here in a couple of hours. This is my hand-drawn snow forecast now, all right? So I want to point out two things. One, this yellow line, this is the question mark. Where does this yellow line occur? Where does it snow versus not snow? And if you have an answer, you'd be a millionaire, right? So here we go with the forecast. Zoom in here on the eastern side, going down towards Greensboro, Madison, and Covington. This is the best guess based on this morning's modeling on where that snow line is going to be. So some flurries and maybe even a dusting, less than an inch of snow in this light blue area from, that's going to be Oglethorpe County down into Taliaferro County, get over towards Butts County and slide in towards Upson County, Harris County, places like that could see a dusting, but probably less than an inch of snow. Once you get down into the Macon area and then extending south of Columbus and south of Fort Benning, that's when you could potentially see some higher amounts. Now, here's the deal. If this yellow line shifts just 20 miles north, it implicates millions of people. That's why we are having to thread the needle very carefully with this, and that's why we're saying, all right, so this blue shaded area is the same one I just showed you, but if you're in this yellow shaded area, this is where you shouldn't tune out of the forecast, because it is entirely possible that we see that line shift just a little bit. In the grand scheme of the system coming through, that's just a minor shift. But for us here in Metro Atlanta and North Georgia, that is a major shift, and that's something we're going to be watching for. All right, I want to show you one of our in-house models. This is the Barron 3K model. This is your forecast snowfall now. Watch this as we get into tomorrow. Boom. This is new on this particular model, south and east of the city. Looking at most locations seeing less than an inch of snow, say from it's going to be Morgan County, Greene County, down into Pike, Lamar, and Meriwether counties. It's pretty much in line with what I just showed you with my forecast. However, this particular model wasn't showing it until just about an hour ago. Here's how this happens. See some rain in here through the overnight, and then there's your changeover to snow tomorrow morning according to the Barron 3K model. And some of that, I mean, those are some deep blues. That could be a little heavy at times. I do think it's a quick mover, though. There we are about this time tomorrow morning with the back edge moving out, and then we'll be clear for the remainder of the day. Another shot of some cooler air lingering up towards the north and to the west. Now let me show you the graph model here. This is another in-house model. You're going to notice some scattered showers through the overnight, and then here comes your snow now down on the south side. And then this particular model, notice it does not take it into Atlanta. That's in line with my forecast as well, right? It's going to keep your snow down to the south and to the east exiting 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. The result out of that, less than a half inch in most locations. Again, south and east of Atlanta. Once you get down into the Macon area and southward, I think that's where you could get over an inch in a widespread type of variety. This is the European model. This is a longer range model, meaning it's not as high of a resolution, but you can still see it's in line pretty much with what we're expecting. The GFS this morning, and mind you, the GFS is the one that has been all over the place, all right? It has higher amounts down to the south, but it also tries to bring some snow into Metro Atlanta, accumulating snow into Metro Atlanta around a half inch. I don't have this forecasted as of now. The GFS is the outlier here, but it's not something I'm discounting as impossible, right? It's something I'll be watching for during the morning hours tomorrow and know in my mind that that would be a possibility. The NAM, yeah, it's pretty much in line with everything else down to the south and to the east, with Atlanta staying dry. Look at that, back out towards Augusta, potentially picking up some more out there. So I think things are coming into narrower focus this morning. So that's a piece of good news. One thing that's for certain, though, we are all going to be cold. Wind chills in the 30s by 11 p.m., waking up to wind chills near 20 here in Atlanta, with teens up across the mountains. So if you do happen to catch some snow and you want to go outside and see it, it is going to be very cold as you do so. Now, here's something important to note for tomorrow. Whatever we do see would likely be during the morning hours. Once we get into the afternoon, the sun will come out, and that will prompt some melting of whatever happens. But then we get into the night and the temperatures get below freezing for MLK Day morning. That would prompt refreezing of whatever we have on the ground in and around central Georgia before we can warm up Monday afternoon to 47 and evaporate all of that out. Not looking for any travel impacts by Tuesday, but Tuesday and Wednesday mornings, though, Judea, we are just going to be bitterly cold.
So, Alex, long story short, for everybody watching out here, you are definitely going to want to pay attention to what's going on with your thermostat, but also what we're telling you here on Fox 5 Atlanta, because this bitter cold, the potential for rain could impact how you're going to move about town. We know so many of you are going to try to get out for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, whether it is to just have some fun or whether you are going to be doing some community service projects. The weather might impact that, so stick with us. Alex, can you tell us the app where people can follow more with meteorologists have to say here?
Yeah, Fox Local is going to be your #1 spot. We do also have the Fox 5 weather app where you get information tailored specific to your city. That has our just like generic forecast video on it, though. You're going to get a lot more information on that Fox Local app, and you can live stream off the Fox Local app, particularly tomorrow morning. Good Day Atlanta will start at 5 a.m. That's when we'll all be here and we'll start to see what happens. And then through the morning hours, we'll be streaming like we are right now on Fox Local. And if we get anything into Metro Atlanta, we would probably be on TV as well. So it would all be going everywhere.
For sure. Alex, thank you so much for this last look at our weather forecast, keeping us up to date and keeping us safe and warm. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here this morning. All right, you guys, coming up, there's so much that I have to tell you about, some big news, especially trending news in our area. But first, there was that breaking news. I want to get you back out to it. Again, we don't have pictures just yet, but Atlanta police did tell us that a woman was stabbed to death here in Atlanta. This all taking place in the 1800 block of Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway in Northwest Atlanta. They say when they got to the scene, they found this woman who had apparent stab wounds. She unfortunately died at the scene. She has not been named yet. They haven't said anything about a potential suspect, but one of our reporters, Ray Yarena, got out there quickly after we found out that this was happening. He said that he has spoken to the Atlanta Police Department. He's also spoken to some people nearby who may know a thing or two about what happened there. And so keep up to date with our website and our app. We're hoping to get you that coverage as the day continues. So that's what's happening out there. Now on to some trending news. I know you've seen video. We learned more about a man who was arrested after a video of him yelling racial slurs went viral. This all taking place in Gwinnett County. So that man has been identified as 65-year-old Robert Burke. They say that in the video he was near the Social Security office in Norcross. There also apparently was a disturbance at a hotel in Duluth. But according to the Gwinnett County Police, on January 14th, they were called to the area where witnesses were able to show them that video that you have probably seen on social media and all the blogs, in which that man was making threats and verbally insulting others who were inside the office. In the video, I'm not sure if he was talking directly to the security guard, but at some point in time, he does yell out the N-word. I believe he actually uses it twice, and he's face to face with that officer. Now, a lot of people have seen the video and they're like, well, you know, maybe what he was saying wasn't cool and it wasn't nice, but isn't that freedom of speech? Isn't that protected under our First Amendment? Isn't that our right to say what we want to as Americans? Well, according to the Gwinnett County Police Department, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, has its limits. Let's listen in.
There are exceptions to the First Amendment. Those include fighting words. So basically, you can't make statements face-to-face to someone that may entice violence in that moment. There were other individuals on the scene that potentially could have been victims of the crime of simple assault, but they chose not to prosecute.
Can go deeper into that and what that actually means, that it has to incite violence or has to be a moment in which violence could occur. It's that he was face to face with an individual making those allegations and saying those things, including the N-word. So it's not alone that he was just using a slur. Technically, that is protected speech, even though some people would say it may be hate speech. Technically, it is protected, but it's because he was face to face with someone at a point in time and that it could have incited violence that then becomes a crime. So we do know that Burke was taken into custody the following day on January 15th. Officers responded to another disturbance involving him at a Courtyard Marriott Hotel on Venture Parkway out in Duluth. So again, you're looking at him there on your screen. We tried to talk to Burke ourselves because technically everyone is considered innocent until proven guilty. And so we wanted to let him speak on what happened. Unfortunately, he has not responded to our email. So that's as much information as we have at this point in time. I also have more information on on a jail nurse who was accused of smuggling weed as well as some other items into the Fulton County Jail, including American Deli. So you're looking at her there on your screen. That is 34-year-old Naomi. She's accused of bringing in those items that she wasn't supposed to the Fulton County Jail. The police say that she was a contract nurse, that she apparently allegedly had an inappropriate relationship with an inmate. And according to an arrest warrant, that scheme was uncovered when jail staffers discovered a note. And in that note, it said that she would be bringing those items in. They said that she would bring marijuana, cigarettes, jewelry, and food from American Deli into the facility in exchange for Cash App payments. Now, we wanted to know a little bit more about those payments. Unfortunately, the officials have not released how much money she had received or how long the scheme had been active before she was finally caught or that incriminating note was discovered. We know that the Fulton County Sheriff has terminated her. She is now being held in the same facility in which she worked in, and they're also said that they're going to be updating their X-ray detection machines at all jail entrances. They say that new technologies are intended to address the issue of contraband being smuggled past checkpoints. Now, the big question is, how did she get this stuff in? How do you not see it? Well, according to law enforcement officials, she hid some of these illegal items in her private areas to get it past security. As of Friday, she remained in custody following her booking on Thursday. All right, we also have some more information about a 16-year-old who was accused of shooting outside of a movie theater. The story that we have here is that teen opened fire outside of a movie theater where plenty of families go. A lot of children were in the area at the time. And a lot of people were concerned about how something like this could take place. So that 16-year-old has been charged. Witnesses say that he let out maybe around 6 rounds. And even though he's a child, because he's a juvenile, we are not going to tell you his name. Officers also haven't released that information to us. But even though he is a juvenile, he's being charged as an adult. So according to Marietta police officer Chuck McPhillamy, which by the way is where this happened, Marietta, he says, and I quote, "We had to stop theaters in the middle of showing a movie and systematically evacuate them, looking for suspects, victims, evidence. At least 6 rounds were fired toward the front of the building." Investigators were able to identify the suspect as the 16-year-old after they took a look at surveillance footage from the theater and, of course, a couple of surrounding businesses. They also interviewed several witnesses. The teen is being charged as an adult, but the police are withholding his name due to his age. We also have some more information about a candlelight vigil that was held in honor of the young man who was killed during a homeless encampment sweep here in Atlanta. You probably know his name, Cornelius Taylor. During that sweep, we heard that officials drove over him with construction equipment while he was sleeping inside a tent. And so unfortunately, he did pass away from his injuries, but even a year later, people are still speaking his name, showing up for candlelight vigils like the one you're seeing on your screen. They're actually hoping to rename that street in which he was killed on, Old Wheat Street, for him. So they're hoping that they can call it Cornelius Taylor Street. We don't have any more information on when that could happen, if it's going to happen, but we do know there are quite a few people, a coalition, a lot of advocates who are trying to make this happen. They also launched a week of action, service, and memorial that started on Friday, so it's ongoing. The event marks the anniversary of the January 16th, 2025 killing of Cornelius Taylor, and it aims to provide aid to the unhoused while demanding changes to city eviction policies. So again, we're looking to see whether or not that street will be renamed. But I can tell you, in terms of that heavy machinery that was used when Cornelius Taylor was killed, Atlanta City Council member Kelsey Bond says that the city initially placed a temporary moratorium on using heavy machinery during encampment sweeps, but that moratorium has since expired. Advocates are now pushing for permanent housing solutions and a community-oriented approach to homelessness. So that's what we have there on that. I do know that we were able to speak to Alan Hall, who's a friend of Cornelius Taylor. I want to let you listen in to that hurt that he is still feeling and trying to process a year later.
Just so impactful, you know, and I was just felt so deeply traumatized by that experience until I just immediately just stopped, you know, because I could see myself up under that truck, you know, and as a result of that, man, you know, it's just been, man, going forward since then. His life has given my life a purpose.
Well, you guys, still ahead. We want to talk to you about Governor Brian Kemp's last State of the State address, in which he talked about an opportunity for us Georgians to bring home a little bit of extra money. That could happen during tax season, and if it does, we have more information on that for you. We also want to talk to you about a little financial news, things that could help you, things that will pertain to your pocket. I know you all want to know what's going on with the Greens, so we'll have more on that when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. Our governor, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, delivered his final State of the State address earlier this week, and in it proposed a $1 billion tax rebate, which is huge. So what that could mean for you and your pockets, let's listen in.
And the reality is that too many of our citizens are still struggling to make ends meet each and every day because costs are still too high. Groceries, rent, insurance, clothes for the kids, it all adds up to more than it used to. That's why my budget proposal will include a fourth one-time $1 billion tax rebate this year that will return or save the average filer $250 and a married couple up to $500.
That sounds pretty good. Whether or not it will actually happen is still up in the air. Remember, this is just a proposal, but we're still waiting to see whether or not it will be enacted. Now, in addition to that tax rebate, he also announced a $325 million investment that creates the Dream Scholarships. This is Georgia's first ever need-based financial aid program for students. A lot of students rely on this kind of funding in order to put them through for higher education and, further along with their learning here. So I want to let you listen in to the details of that announcement.
Along with these unprecedented investments, Georgia is truly the national leader in merit-based aid for higher education between the Hope Scholarship and grant programs. But in this era of high prices and new challenges for those graduating from high school, we also recognize the advantage that need-based financial assistance can give to those who would not otherwise be able to access higher education. Like their peers who have the means to attend college, these students have great dreams for rewarding careers and impactful lives. But they don't always have hope that those dreams can become a reality. Dreams without the benefit of hope remain dreams deferred, perhaps for entire generations. How much richer would the lives of those and their families be if they could attain the type of education that leads to a high-paying job with great benefits? And how much would communities across our state benefit from these young people getting a degree that opens their door or starts a rewarding career? I believe we owe it to every child to ensure they start out on a level playing field, no matter their zip code. Therefore, my amended budget proposal invests $325 million in the University System of Georgia's Dream Scholarship Program, the first need-based scholarship of its kind in Georgia history. In future years, this one-time endowment will create opportunities for generational economic advancement for thousands of students. And down the road, it will allow them to complete college and begin meaningful careers without the burden of crippling debt. The Dream Scholarship will build on the incredible, unmatched legacy of the Hope Scholarship and leave no stone unturned when it comes to student achievement in our state. From now on throughout the country, Americans will know that hopes and dreams are alive right here in the great state of Georgia.
So he was saying it there. We now have the Hope Scholarship and the Dream Scholarship, allowing our children to matriculate through their education, as well as our older students who are looking forward to college and what can come ahead in terms of a career. So that was really big with the State of State address. We have a full article that addresses all of the other things that he talked about and how it will impact you as a Georgian. All right, there is a website out right now. The IRS just released it. It's supposed to help you get ready to file your taxes because there are some things that could impact how much money you could receive in a refund, whether you'll receive one at all or whether you could owe the state. They say tax planning is for everyone, so get ready to file your federal income tax return. These changes all come from the one big beautiful bill from our president, Donald Trump. And again, they can have some significant effects on your federal taxes, on your credits, and your deductions. So some changes that may affect your tax refund are life changes like purchasing a home, going away for college, whether you lost a job last year. They all make you eligible for different tax benefits. So you should know what's available for you. Again, that website is available for everyone, irs.gov. You just got to look for the Get Ready to File Your Taxes page. The best thing that you can do, though, you guys, just hire a tax professional if you can. Have someone who can consult with you, look at your 1099, your other tax forms, your income, and tell you what you may be eligible for now that we have these new things in place. I also want to get you ready for travel this year. No real ID fee will begin starting February 1st. So if you had plans to travel in a few weeks or after that, the TSA will begin charging you if you do not bring your real ID or if you don't have one. That fee is $45. So here's where that money goes. According to the TSA, they're going to use that money, that $45, to help verify someone's identity. So this will cover the cost for that. But on your screen there, that star, if you have a star on your ID, your driver's license, you already have a real ID. But if you don't, you could be missing. You don't need to bring just a passport anymore. That's not going to cut it. You need that real ID starting February 1st. So go ahead, head out to your DMV, whatever you need to do to make sure that you are prepared for travel. All right, you guys, that'll do it for me. I'm Judea Murray. Thank you so much for spending some time with me on Fox 5 News Live. I'll see you tomorrow.